This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to a podcast of Rare Antiquities, episode 22. Today we're going back to before the superhero movie craze with Batman Forever. I'm your host, Geoff.
And I am your reluctant host, Harry.
Well, I guess that about sums up what your opinion is of the film here, but we'll see if we can hold your opinion till later. But let's go back in time a little bit. Batman Forever was released in 1995, so we already had the two Tim Burton Batman films under our belt by this point. So new director, new Batman. Can you think back to 94, 95 when the marketing machine started to churn out on this one? Can you recall if your anticipation level, if any, what your initial thoughts were before the film came out?
I was a real big fan at the time of Michael Keaton as Batman. So the change in actors, from my memory, put me off. I don't remember any of the hype or the marketing or anything like that. But probably because I think on initial release, I was fairly disappointed in Batman Returns. And I mean, it wasn't something that I enjoyed immensely at the time, even though I think I appreciate it a little bit more now as I'm a little older. But with Batman Forever, this is one of the ones that I really haven't rewatched frequently in the years since it's been released. I may have seen it 2 or 3 times in my life, and that's probably it. And that's maybe being generous. Maybe I've only seen it twice before rewatching it here for the podcast.
Right. Well, you know what, and I suspected that might have been the case for you and for a lot of people, which is part of the reason why I chose this one. I think that the Batman 1989 Batman Returns, they get a fair amount of play, and Batman and Robin kind of goes down in history as black hole in cinematic history. So this one kind of gets lost in the middle, which is why I wanted to revisit it a little bit.
Yeah, because we watched Batman and Robin together.
Yes, we did. Yes. We did.
So
I just remember being an angry parent. It's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. It's kind of how I felt. There was just so many wasted. That's a different episode, obviously. We could do a whole series on Batman and Robin.
Probably.
Shit. I don't recall a lot about the lead up to Batman Forever. Obviously, the hype machine works differently now than it did then. There wasn't really an internet, at least not in every home. There weren't chat rooms and websites you could go to. It was just the trade magazines and the trailers as they came out. I remember being pretty excited for it. I
remember just Jim Carrey being a really big star. I think around the mid to late 90s is pretty much the peak of Jim Carrey's career in terms of being a in-demand Hollywood star.
Yeah, definitely he was. He was at the peak of his career around this point. He was absolutely huge, and that overshadowed a lot of the marketing, I think. I remember watching the trailer for this, and I loved the trailer at the time. I actually watched the trailer again last night after I watched the film, and it's pretty representative of trailers from that time, from the mid-90s, which isn't quite as slick as they are today, but I still kind of like that trailer. But I was really excited. I also was a bit disappointed after Batman Returns, although I liked the film at the time. But the Michael Keaton moving on, I think at the time I was okay with it. Not that I didn't like him at the time, but I didn't have a problem with that. I was just really excited to see a new Batman film, so I was ready to go, man. I was
just like, okay, I'm getting Val Kilmer. It's like, Iceman, you're dangerous. And then all I picture is the bite back.
Well, you know what's funny?
You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I know what you're talking about, but at the time, I had never seen Top Gun, so I had no idea who this guy was.
Oh, okay.
I went and watched a movie that he was in called, it's something like Thunderheart or something, where he plays a cop or an FBI agent goes to investigate a murder on a Native American reservation, I think. It was something like that. I don't really even remember the movie all that much, but I went and watched it because
sounds like a Van Damme film.
So it does sound like a Van Damme film, actually. Yeah. Probably not as good as the average Van Damme film from the mid-90s either. But
That's some harsh criticism right there.
Yeah, totally. I remember being really bored with it, and I couldn't tell you a damn thing about that movie. But there you go. So
I just remember him in The Saint, and I never really watched The Saint. I remember the trailer just because the haughty Elizabeth Shue. Damn, she was hot. That's about as far as I remember.
It's about as far as you remember. Or Elizabeth Shue.
Hey,
she won an Oscar, man. That's all you can say about her.
Don't diss the Shue. I'm telling you.
I'm not. Now, I'm trying to give her a little bit. I'm trying to give her some more play here.
That's my boyhood crush. Is the Shue.
She was a nice looking lady, and she can act too. Which this is a shame that her career just never really. Well, like so many actors, right? It just doesn't turn into a long career. But anyway,
she had a career with me.
We should get her on the show, and we can. It's good to know that you always bring the class with you when you show up to the episode.
It's okay.
What a guy! All right, well, we've got lots to get into. I've got some trivia, but how about we dive right into the plot synopsis?
Go ahead, by all means.
All right, here we go. Batman Forever. Former district attorney and current Gotham City supervillain Harvey Dent, aka Two-Face, stages a bank robbery as a trap for the Dark Knight. Batman arrives on the scene in a dramatic descent from the sky to confer with Police Commissioner Gordon. But Gordon's brought a new pal, the smoldering and sexy Dr. Chase Meridian, who specializes in multiple personality disorders. She's practically slathering herself all over Batman like warm butter, but he doesn't have time for this. It's time to stop Two-Face. After punching a few masked bad guys in the face, Batman leaps into the open bank vault to rescue the hapless security guard, and oh yeah, did I mention that this is a trap? The vault slams shut and gets hauled out of the building by a helicopter. Two-Face's plan is to dump a bunch of cash on the Gothamites below and then watch the chaos ensue. Someone's been studying the Jack Nicholson school of supervillainy, but the vault is also filled with acid. Sorry, make that boiling acid, and it's only a matter of time before Batman and the security guard are turned into slushy goo. Being the expert safecracker that he is, Batman opens the vault from the inside, rescues the guard, takes down the helicopter, but not before Two-Face escapes into the night. The next day at Wayne Enterprises, Bruce Wayne is taking a tour of the electronics division when he runs into mad scientist in the making, Dr. Edward Nygma. Nygma displays some seriously antisocial behavior, babbles some shit about brainwaves, and demands research funds from Bruce. Bruce, understandably creeped right the fuck out, says no, and was that the bat signal? Whoops, gotta go. Bruce arrives on scene at the bat signal, but it's not Commissioner Gordon who has called him here, it's Dr. Meridian, and she has one thing on her mind. She wants to get under that cape. Batman's annoyance turns to intrigue, but he blows her off again and leaps away into the night. Back at Wayne Enterprises, Nygma is still stewing over Bruce's rejection of his project, and his supervisor, Stickley, is chewing him out over it. Edward, being the rational, balanced man that he is, sits down with Stickley, talks out a solution, and everyone lives happily ever after. No. Nygma bonks Buddy on the head and straps him to his brainwave device, the box, and zaps his brain. For some reason, Nygma has also hooked himself up to the box and discovers that he can suck the mind power of another person and absorb it into his own, making him smarter. Funny, for some reason he doesn't seem to act any smarter. Nygma then drops Stickley out the window. Death is ruled a suicide, as Nygma was able to forge a suicide note and the security tapes. He's going to resign from Wayne Enterprises, but he needs some questions answered first. He sends a couple of childish riddles to Bruce, who easily solves them but decides to consult with Dr. Meridian. She's different when he's not covered in skin-tight black rubber armor, and she's not really digging his vibe. But after a little witty banter, she accepts his invitation to a charity circus event. The main event at the circus is the Flying Graysons, a family of high-flying trapeze performers. They flip and swing and do all kinds of death-defying trapeze stuff, but this wouldn't be a random charity event with a bunch of rich people in Gotham City without a supervillain to crash the party. Two-Face, flanked by goons with machine guns, demands to know the identity of Batman, and sets a timer on a giant comical bomb to go off in 2 minutes unless someone comes forward with Batman's ID. The Graysons and Bruce spring into action, beating up the thugs and trying to get that bomb the heck out of there. But as Dick Grayson manages to get the bomb through the roof and tossed into the harbor, his mother, father, and brother all fall at the hands of Two-Face. Bruce invites Dick to chill at Wayne Manor, but meanwhile, Edward Nygma, now as his fully formed alter ego, the Riddler, has tracked down Two-Face's hideout, which looks metal as fuck. They come up with a plan to insinuate Nygma's box into every home in Gotham, while simultaneously humiliating Batman before killing him. Probably a better idea to just figure out how to kill him, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt for now. Back at Wayne Manor, Dick is puzzled by the single locked door in the entire mansion. Being the industrious young acrobat that he is, he swings himself past the door and tumbles down into the Batcave. He makes off with the Batmobile, cruises some chicks, punches some neon-lit gang members, and gets seriously scolded by Batman for stealing Dad's car. But Dick thinks this is totally awesome and wants Bruce to train him to be his partner so he can track down and terminate Two-Face. But that's not Bruce's style. After an inspirational crime spree montage courtesy of Two-Face and the Riddler, Bruce shows up with Dick and Chase at another high-profile party full of rich people, this time to showcase the next generation of Edward Nygma's box. Sure enough, the party is crashed by Two-Face. Seriously, people in Gotham never learn. Bruce slips out, then slips back in, this time dressed as Batman, but not before the secrets of his mind are stolen by Nygma's box. After a tussle with Two-Face's gang, Batman narrowly avoids a gravel-filled grave thanks to a surprise appearance from Dick, dressed up in his finest trapeze tights. He's a part of this now, whether Bruce likes it or not. And what are the data mined from Bruce's mind at the party? Well, let's just load that up into the next Netflix queue and, oh, what's this? Two-Face and the Riddler cackle as they see the contents of Bruce's mind. A giant, slow-motion flapping bat. That can only mean one thing. It's Halloween back at Wayne Manor, and Bruce is shutting down the Batcave. He explains to Dick that it's all over. It's time to move on, for both their sakes. Dick takes off on his motorcycle, and Dr. Meridian arrives at Wayne Manor for some trick-or-treating. Bruce wants nothing more than to tell her who he really is, as memories flood back from the first night he discovered the Batcave as a child. She starts getting the picture, but Two-Face and the Riddler show up to ruin the heart-to-heart. A bullet zings Bruce in the head, the Riddler destroys the Batcave, and Two-Face makes off with Dr. Meridian. What's a Batman story without a damsel in distress? Bruce wakes up with Alfred standing over him, and he breaks the bad news. Dick has run away, the bad guys have made off with his girlfriend, and the Batcave has been destroyed. And there's another shitty riddle from the guy who literally does riddles as his superpower. Anyway, all of the riddles have a through line, which Bruce uses to deduce the Riddler's true identity, Edward Nygma. Hardly seems to matter at this point, though, as we already knew Nygma is a giant douche. Thankfully, not all of Batman's gadgets were destroyed. He still has his fishing boat, his plane, and a decked-out sonar prototype batsuit that does, well, it looks like it probably sold some toys anyway. Having had a change of heart along the dark road out of Gotham, Dick shows back up, now in his own skin-tight rubber suit modeled after his Flying Grayson's digs, and it's off to the Riddler's super-secret, neon-bright, spotlight-projecting island to finish this thing. Batman takes the super-sweet jet and tells Dick, or now Robin, to, sail that boat and basically be a distraction, which he is in so many ways. They make it to the island. Dick beats up Two-Face and then exhibits his superpower, getting captured, and the Riddler makes Batman face a choice. Rescue his new partner and embrace life as Batman, or save Chase and let the Batman die forever. Batman's like, nah, I'm Bruce and Batman. Buttons pressed, gadgets thrown, bullshit, and he saves both Chase and Robin from a watery grave. He throws some coins at Two-Face, he falls off a ledge to his death, and for some reason the Riddler now looks like he has Elephant Man syndrome, so it's off to Arkham for him. With Two-Face dead, Riddler insane and locked up, Bruce kinda sorta breaks up with Chase and is free to run in slow motion towards the camera with his new buddy, ready to fight crime another day. The end. All right, well, there we have it, Harry. That's Batman Forever. Why don't you give me your thoughts from the synopsis?
I like some of the stuff with Dick Grayson, even though I think the final product didn't turn out that great. But there are some things I like in there. But overall, it seems very cheesy. I mean, pretty much the run-of-the-mill on how I'd figure an action movie from the 90s would be. Mm-hmm. It's very 90s. It's very appropriate for the time. Not a lot of, from the synopsis, there doesn't, and it might have been the way you were joking with it as well, and having a little fun with it. There's not a lot of serious undertone, but I think there's a couple of moments in the film that we can maybe get into later that's a bit, slightly serious. But it feels, the way you've described it in that synopsis, it feels very Adam West appropriate.
Yeah, well, you know what? And it's interesting that you say that because I found just in the visual style a lot of similarities to the old 60s TV series. Just if you take a look at just camera angles, so many of the camera angles, like they're set on an angle, so there'll be a flat set, but the camera's tilted, say 25 degrees, which is a technique that they used on the old series. So I'm sure
assuming Schumacher was just a fan of the old series, and he was just trying to pay some kind of fucked up, bizarre homage to it in his own way. I'm assuming that's what he did. The way he filmed it, the way he lit it, the way he approved any of this stuff. I'm assuming it's coming from his love for that show.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, so just to sort of transition into the trivia segment of the show, so Joel Schumacher was a Batman fan. He was a fan of the comic books as well. He originally wanted to make an adaptation of Frank Miller's Batman Year One. as kind of a prequel. So he wanted to make a dark, gritty version here, but the studio wanted a more family friendly version, something that was brighter, so more kid friendly.
But this is such a departure from Tim Burton's vision. What was presented before. Like Tim Burton still had a sense of goofiness. He always does in his movie. You can tell there's a sense of fun. There's fun here too, but it's taken on a completely different level.
Yeah.
And it's more cheeseball. At least with Burton, there was a sense of, I have created a universe, Gothic, and they've completely departed from that. It's something completely different here.
Yeah, it absolutely is something completely different here.
And just to say, this really is the genesis of the end. Because all the failures of Batman and Robin are really start here. You see everything.
Yeah. Everything is definitely rooted here. It was almost to hear Joel Schumacher talk about how both of those movies came together, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, was one thing, the studio wanting a kid-friendly film, partly in response to what the studio deemed was a lackluster performance out of Batman Returns, which is quite dark. If you watch it now, I mean, it's that movie's dark, man. Not just in how it looks, but in the storyline and the themes. That's a dark film. So they chose to lighten it up a bit here, and then I don't know. I guess they did all of the cocaine before they made the last one.
They did Superman 3 here.
Yeah.
Right. This is Batman Superman 3, right?
Yeah. With slightly higher production values. Absolutely.
Slightly higher production values. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to hit you with some trivia here, Harry. This film was released on June 22nd, 1995. Had an opening weekend gross of $52.7 million, which very respectable take, especially for the mid-90s. Its domestic gross total was $184 million, and internationally $152. So it grossed $336.5 million approximately worldwide. Production budget of $100 million. So it was considered a pretty big success. Yep. If a superhero movie made $336.5 million today, that they would just dynamite the entire studio and drown the director.
Probably.
Like you couldn't. That would be an absolute failure. Which so it's interesting to see. I mean, obviously it's over 20 years ago, but it is interesting to see how things can change. And again, part of why I wanted to talk about Batman Forever is it is a large spectacle summer blockbuster, but this is before superhero movies went insane. We get one superhero movie every couple of years, whereas now we're going to have a minimum of 4 superhero movies a year and up to 6 or 7 per year. It's bananas now. So, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of go back and take a look at what things were like before the madness. So this movie stars Val Kilmer, obviously, as Batman, Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face, Jim Carrey plays the Riddler, Nicole Kidman as Dr. Meridian, and reprising their roles from Batman and Batman Returns, Pat Hingle and Michael Goff. Michael Goff is an interesting fellow. He is the definition of a working actor. This guy has almost 200 screen credits to his name, not counting any stage plays that, and he did a lot of those as well. This guy has been in absolutely everything, TV shows and films. British actor, obviously, so mostly across the pond. His career stretches back to the mid-40s all the way up to right before his death in 2011, a character in Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland in 2010. This guy, again, and absolutely everything. I would say a great anchor for these films. He's a rock as Alfred. I just got to ask you, I know usually we don't kind of go back and forth in the trivia. What's your take on his Alfred?
It's okay. Aside from the original Batman with Michael Keaton, I liked some play there. He really didn't have a lot to offer since then. I liked some of his play there and some of the jokes, how he kept on picking up stuff that Bruce Wayne was leaving behind and cleaning. Here he's just your average Joe servant. And then I think even in the next one, he's just there to die. He's just a plot device. So, or there to be a dying old man. I mean, there were some moments that he had with Bruce, I guess, which were okay. But I mean, he's okay. He's not bad. He's not great. I think I prefer Michael Caine over this guy, personally. But it's a different movie.
Yeah, it's a different movie. I mean, Michael Caine. I mean, shit, it's Michael Caine. There you go. There.
Even Jeremy Irons in Batman v Superman, or versus Superman. I refuse to call it the. I don't care what the fuck they say. He's okay. I mean, I think I prefer the other two guys, but it's a different movie, right? But there's not a lot for him to do.
No, there's less for him to do. I think you're right. He had a little more play with Michael Keaton in the first one there for sure. Anyway, moving on, Pat Hingle as the only other actor to reprise his role as Commissioner Gordon. Speaking of nothing to do.
He had nothing to do in any of them, and he's one of the worst interpretations of Commissioner Gordon you could ever dream of putting together. Nobody had an understanding of who Commissioner Gordon really was. I don't understand how you got cast in the role, even in Batman '89.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I completely agree. Yeah, totally. I don't want to say miscast because I'm sure he's a fine actor. I've seen him in other things. He's perfectly serviceable. But you're right. A total bungling of this character. I don't know what they were interpreting him to be other than just a bumbling...
He's the Last Crusade's Marcus Brody.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently stupid, consistently goofy, nothing to do, and an insult to the character that came before. Like in the comics, and then Marcus Brody in Raiders of the Lost Ark was respectable peer. And in Last Crusade, he became a bumbling oaf. And that's who this Commissioner Gordon is. He's the bumbling oaf Marcus Brody.
Yeah, not well served, which is a shame because that's a good character. A couple other little tidbits. So the gang leader, when Chris O'Donnell steals the Batmobile and goes looking for a fight, the gang, which is all painted up in that weird paint and then lit with black lights so they glow, which doesn't seem like a great costume choice for a gang, but whatever. So the gang leader, who has like 2 lines, he was played by a guy named Don the Dragon Wilson, who was a time very famous kickboxing champion. This guy's badass. And I remember hearing about the casting of this guy, reading some, when you, like I said, there'd be the magazines and stuff that would come out. You could read about the movies and everything. So when I heard about him, I was like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. He's gonna be in this movie. He's gonna have some awesome fight scenes. And his ass gets handed to him so hard by Chris O'Donnell in like half a second. I don't know why they cast this guy in the movie.
Probably because he knew somebody. So
poor Don the Dragon Wilson. But another kind of cool tidbit. So in the
poor
scene,
bastard. Who gives a fuck?
What's that?
Poor bastard. I could care less.
Whatever. I mean, he's a kickboxer, so
it doesn't mean he deserves to be in any movie.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, if he was smart, he wouldn't have been a kickboxer, I guess.
No.
So the film opens with opening credits, which is actually quite rare now. Usually we get the credit card for these movies at the end. Then we get the scene where Batman is suiting up in the new Batsuit. We see the new Batcave. We see the new Batmobile.
We also see all the chest and butt and leg shots here.
Yeah, we get the we don't get the butt shot here. We get the butt shot later.
Oh, we get the butt shot later. Okay, yeah, but I think we get a nipple.
No, we don't get a nipple yet either.
Oh, okay. So he showed restraint initially.
He did show restraint initially, and I don't want to say I was watching for Batman's nipples, but I was watching for Batman's nipples through the film because a source of some controversy. I think that it's remembered as a more prominent feature of the suit than it actually ended up being in the final product. I mean,
but I don't even think it's the focus on. Focus really isn't on that. Focus is just on the flashing. Here's my legs. I think there was a crotch shot at the beginning too.
There is, yeah.
Right. So I mean, like, okay, he's turning around. I mean, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, totally. It's like out of Zoolander. This guy's just doing a bunch of right-hand turns. Like it's a little much. It's a little goofy.
Well, you're setting the tone right off the bat.
Yeah.
Kids are either going to be super excited or they're going to be extremely repulsed, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's an odd choice. I was watching this with my significant other last night, and I've seen this movie many, many times. It didn't really faze me. And she watched it and she started mimicking his turns, like to the camera and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, he keeps, every time he like puts his glove on, he's got to turn this way, he's got to turn that way. It's a little over dramatic. I mean, I guess they need some visual interest to show him suiting up, but it is a little bit goofy.
They just needed to play that one song, "Playing with the Boys" from Top Gun. Here, right? That's what he was trying to replicate.
See,
I think he was probably playing it in the background while they were filming this, right?
Probably was. Yeah, he put it on for Val's sake. Just okay, get dressed, Val, and we're gonna play this awesome '80s music from your past. Directorial choice. We get the famous joke here where Batman says he's going to get drive-through, and then he roars off in the new Batmobile. So just going to stop there. As you said, we have the tone sort of set in a strange way with him suiting up.
And then you get the joke. And yeah, I don't know about you, it's pretty cringeworthy already.
Yeah, it's a cringeworthy joke, and yet for some reason I still love it.
But it depends. Yeah, it depends on what you're going for. So I am trying to be critical from what I see in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
And it's just a shocking.
Yeah, it's a pretty big departure, and I think you're absolutely correct in saying that. I like a bit of addition of humor, and I'll get into that a little bit. What I definitely dislike is the design of this new Batmobile. I mean, it looks like H.R. Giger's version of the Batmobile on like he drew it on a Sunday morning after a huge Saturday night bender. Like he just didn't give a shit. He was lazy and then shot this piece of garbage out.
He's got a great bar in what's that place called? I've been to his hometown in Switzerland.
Oh, really?
I can't recall. And there's the Geiger bar is there right next to his house.
Yeah.
And inside, it's like the best bar I've ever been to. If I could be to any bar, it'd be Moss Eisley's Cantina. I developed it myself. I'll call it Eisley. But next to that, this is the bar you want to go to.
Is it as terrifying and like source of confusing boners as I think it should be, or what?
You're sitting. It's all alien inside, right? So the whole thing is like you're on a set in Alien, right? And you're sitting on chairs and things are going up your ass, and it's a little strange.
You say a little strange. I haven't been anally penetrated at a bar in at least 10 years, man. I mean, I'd say it's more than a little strange.
So I'll leave it at that. But the beer is good.
It better be, man. Fuck. That dude is anyway. He didn't actually design this Batmobile, but it definitely. I don't know. I don't like the Batmobile.
Some guys' asses were penetrated with this Batmobile.
Yeah, it's hard to come back after that. So Batman roars off into the night. And now we get our first look at Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. He's sort of soliloquizing over this security guard. I just want to stop here again. What did you think of the reveal here of Two-Face? How's Tommy Lee Jones doing? And this opening dialogue, just this opening impression. What do you think?
Not impressed. I mean, like he's hamming it up. He's having a good time with it. But he's too out there all the time. And it'd be fine if this was the original reveal and he had other aspects to the character, which is supposed to be Two-Face.
Yeah.
And I know he flips the coin often in the movie, but it really doesn't make a difference.
No.
He's just playing Two-Face on roids from the first scene all the way to the end.
Yeah. See that?
He's spazzing out, right? So he's just spazzing out. And it's surprising that Tommy Lee Jones chose or has probably got direction from Schumacher to do this, or maybe he's saying, I'm just here to have fun, and he just went for it. It's like Eisenberg went for his Luthor, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
There's no nuance to any of it, right?
See, I thought the opening scene, I agree with you, except for this opening scene. I thought he was a little more restrained in this opening. I mean, I'm just talking about when he's talking to the guard. Mm-hmm. I thought he showed a little bit more restraint. This was the Two-Face that I wanted to see for the rest of the movie. And then and after this scene, it's all ridiculous. But
you know what? The guard kind of got me out of it. He was terrible.
He was terrible.
God! And stuff. I just this high-pitched, whiny voice, and he wouldn't stop. And
no, you're right. Yeah, this guy was terrible.
So my focus was on that. So if there was any nuance to Tommy Lee Jones in the first scene as Two-Face, completely lost because this guard just ruined everything.
Yeah. So Batman arrives on the scene here. He, for some reason, needs to leap down to the street, even though the bad guys are on like the 100th floor of this giant skyscraper, talking with Commissioner Gordon, and there's Nicole Kidman as Dr. Chase Meridian. And she is, from the get-go, I don't like to be crude, but she is soaking wet right from the word go. And
she might have been there already with Gordon. I don't know.
He was probably a good-looking guy. Once. Yeah, she is ready to roll and does not care who knows it. She's out there. I kind of liked how Val Kilmer played these scenes where he keeps just sort of trying to blow her off. I mean, he doesn't have time for this stuff, and she just keeps coming. She keeps coming. She keeps coming.
I did like some of the interplay between like Kilmer's Batman and her, where he's kind of doing a couple of double takes because he's like, oh my God, she is.
Yeah.
God, I could.
Well, I know. It's like, you can almost see like how confused he is. It's like, like you said, the double take.
It's that line from Commando. You mean you could smell them coming? I did.
So we get the zippy dialogue comes to an end. Batman gets back to work, heads up to I don't know. I've been to a couple big cities. I don't know a lot of places that have the bank on the top floor of skyscrapers. Those vaults are big. They don't. They're better on the ground floor. So he gets up there, beats up some dudes, and springs the trap. He jumps into the safe there, and This is part of, we talked a little bit about camera angles being tilted at like 20 degrees or 30 degrees. I can't quite, even now, after seeing this movie a million times, the spatial organization of this vault sort of on, is it on the floor? Is it on a wall?
That's not the focus.
It doesn't make any sense. It gets pulled out by a helicopter, which I don't know if that's even possible.
That helicopter would crash, but that's okay.
It definitely should have crashed. And Two-Face, so Two-Face talks about releasing all his money out into the street, but he starts to flood the safe with boiling, not just acid, Harry, boiling acid, because acid at room temperature isn't gonna cut mustard here. It's gotta be boiling.
Or maybe that vault was lined with something. I don't know.
Well, maybe so. I mean, it must have taken a lot of work to put acid in all of those safety deposit boxes individually and have them time to spew out the acid. But Batman saves the day, gets out, rescues the guard, even manages to get the safe right back in the exact position that it left, climbs the chain.
Yeah, that was a bit ridiculous, wasn't it? That he got it actually back in the exact position.
Yeah, I would say a bit ridiculous is pretty generous. It was supremely ridiculous.
I do want to say one thing before we move on. The one thing that did impress me, it's a small nugget, is that I liked a couple of the fight scenes here. Whether it was Kilmer or a stuntman, I felt here Batman was a bit more fluid in his fight scenes in comparison to what was filmed in the previous two films with Michael Keaton. And that might just be Schumacher versus Burton. Or maybe they were able to loosen up the suit and do a couple of different things so the actor or the stuntman can move a little bit more, dynamically. Yeah. Because I liked the way he moved in some of his fight scenes.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're right. There's probably some technology advancements here. Michael Keaton always seemed like he was really stiff inside the suit.
Well, he probably was, though that thing probably couldn't move.
Yeah, exactly. It probably couldn't move. So this one...
But I kind of like that, because he's kind of creepy that way.
You know what? It gave him a certain personality, a certain presence when he moved, when he walked. It was very... I don't know what the word is. It was unique. It was very unique to the role, right? So you start to identify how he moved, how he looked with the character, right? So I liked it as well.
More of a boogeyman.
Yeah, totally. That's a good comparison there for that character. They made many different models of the suit for Batman Forever for the different situations, so they could have some more fluid fight scenes. So I liked, it's nice in this pre-CG heavy, pre-wire work area that a lot of the fight scenes, while they're not spectacular, they are they're practical. They're done fairly well. Yeah, I thought he moved good too. One thing I really liked about the suit is how the cape flows really well. Yeah, because that's a real cape. Like now they CG capes. Like Superman, Batman. Those capes are all just added in post for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt that they played that scene over and over again with him kind of swooping down, holding onto nothing. Mm-hmm. This is like 60s Spider-Man swinging across the ocean kind of situation here. So I don't really know how he's coming down here, but he's coming down, but I do like the cape movement. They just did it. I think they did it too many times in the movie. Kind of lost its uniqueness after the first two times. I think they did it like 5-6 times. It's like, oh.
Yeah, they did it a bunch of times, and you're right. Yeah, it starts to wear out its welcome a little bit. So the fight, I kind of like the action around the helicopter. It's sort of an interesting set piece because there's not a lot of room. It feels very claustrophobic here. Anyway, so Batman manages to kind of take over the helicopter, but Two-Face leaps out with his parachute, heads out, and he's gone. Batman manages to escape the helicopter before it crashes into Gotham City's low-rent version of the Statue of Liberty.
Which is strange, because then they do mention that Metropolis exists in this universe, and Metropolis has a Statue of Liberty for itself as well, in the Chris Reeve Superman movie.
Yeah, and I wanted to... I was going to bring that up, but we can talk about it in the new DC universe now. So, among the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman movies, Metropolis is sort of an analog for Manhattan, for New York City, and then Gotham City's right across the river, which would be New Jersey, I guess, right in the real.
That's about right.
But the Statue of Liberty is right in the harbor between the two, so geographically, this should be Metropolis's Statue of Liberty that he crashes into, but it does say Gotham.
Yeah, I was going to say it says Gotham's Statue of Liberty or something like. Oh.
You know what? And in the comic books, I know you've read the books as well, going back. Many decades. Gotham often has one of these statues, and as does Metropolis, and both cities really are analogs for New York City. I mean, Metropolis is sort of the light hopeful side of New York City, and Gotham City represents like the flip side, right? The underside, the darkness and the seediness. So they're both the same place of the real world. They're just, representing different aspects of it. And, I'm all right with it. It's
yeah,
okay.
I mean, that's fine. It's
they never really
minor
thought
point.
it through, right? So
Minor point.
Yeah, minor point, exactly. We get a shitty CG flyby of Gotham City.
And I hated this scene. So here, this
Yeah.
is where it's kind of like Burton, but slightly different. This is the one aspect I really hated, and they just went to the next level in Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
There's these weird, constant camera movements across these models, but it didn't even feel like models here. It felt like CG.
Well, this is CG, I'm pretty sure,
done.
here.
Oh, it was poorly done. Poorly rendered.
Yeah, very poorly rendered. I agree. And it is, they take the Art Deco extreme of the Burton films and really they turn it up to 11. And they're trying to create the scene, but it's too much. Mm-hmm. I think it's not.
No, it's too much in Batman and Robin.
It's too much. Well, it's too much in Batman and Robin, and here, part of the problem here is that it's shitty CG at this point.
It's not very good CG.
Yeah. I mean, I can give them a break on that. I mean, it's 1995. We haven't really hit the photorealism that is possible mostly today. But inside Wayne Enterprises, we get Bruce Wayne touring the facilities, and we meet Edward Nygma. Our first look at Jim Carrey, right off the bat, he's Jim Carrey. His face is made of silly putty. He's over the top, and he reveals to Bruce his very unhealthy obsession with him, and also this invention that he's devised, the box, which can beam TV signals into the brain. What's your initial impression of Jim Carrey here as Edward Nygma?
I hate to say it, but I've never really been a big Jim Carrey fan. I think I like a couple of things he's done on the comedic side, like a couple of movies, and I liked a couple of moments with him here too. It's not an inspired choice for the Riddler, but probably an appropriate one at the time if they're going like loud with the Riddler. I would have preferred someone a bit more subdued but comedic.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you're gonna go Jim Carrey, you're gonna go Robin Williams.
Yeah.
If you're a casting director or a big studio in the 90s, those are your two picks when you think of the Riddler, right?
Yeah.
Either really don't fit who the character really is.
Yeah.
You're going with someone loud and brash. Jim Carrey does have a good few moments, but I didn't really like him in these few scenes. The initial scenes, he was just way over the top. But you're not really supposed to take it seriously because you're saying, okay, how is this guy hired? How does he maintain employment?
Yeah.
He's kind of like, obviously he's so out there. Why is he even there? So to begin with, he would have been fired after a week or after a day. You've put those things aside because this is just a superhero movie meant for kids. I could see how kids would really latch on and like this character. So I don't, but I think it's appropriate for a family-friendly Riddler who's supposed to make kids laugh.
Yeah.
So if they succeeded in that department, because I'm sure he was a hoot with the kids, but I'm not really enjoying it.
No, I'm not enjoying it either. To go back to your Superman 3 analogy, he comes across in a similar way to Richard Pryor. He's not that character. He's not the Riddler. He's Jim Carrey. In the same way that like Richard Pryor was just Richard Pryor in Superman 3. I wish, and because Jim Carrey is capable of restraint. And it's not like they asked him to restrain himself. They were just like, Jim, go get him. Like, do it. Just do it. And he did. So, I certainly don't fault him, but it's a shame that they couldn't dial him in a little bit, because I think that would have been, even in the context of this film, even in the tone of this film, if they had brought him in a little bit.
I think it could have been better. Oh, yeah, it would have been a different Riddler, but it would have been a different movie.
It would have been a different movie, but I think it would have worked much better. I actually really enjoyed, so this is our first look really at Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne. And, given what Jim Carrey is doing here, I really enjoyed how Val Kilmer played off of Jim Carrey here. You can see he's slightly annoyed, but he's being a good boss. Like, I'll hear you out, but he's still, pretty tough. I don't know. I mean,
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I like, the funny thing is I don't think that Val Kilmer is a good Bruce Wayne, but he's decent. Mm-hmm. He was pretty monotone, I felt, through the entire thing. And you obviously they were playing with subject matter later on where he still can't let go of his parent, the thought, the psychosis, what drove him to be Batman, and that relationship he was having with Chase, Meridian. I liked the concept of those scenes, and I liked some of the imagery with the flying bat and those things. And I liked him here. I mean, he was just, he's just playing opposite. He was very restrained. I still need a Bruce Wayne that has more layers. And I don't know if any one particular actor who's played Bruce Wayne yet has done that. Maybe Kevin Conroy in the animated series, but because he's had so much opportunity to flesh that out, he's probably accomplished that just because of the amount of work that he's had a chance to do. But I still think I prefer Keaton. There's elements there of Keaton that Bruce Wayne is really potentially crazy, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
Here he displays just kind of like a somber, troubled guy. He's pretty monotone through the whole movie. But I did enjoy these first scenes. I thought he played it well.
Yeah, you're right. He does play pretty flat, and I mean, I don't think that there's a potential for him to be crazy. He's definitely mentally ill, and they played that up more with Michael Keaton. It's funny you bring up the animated series with Kevin Conroy. He and obviously had a lot of hours to work with that character, both in the animated series and in many other animated projects since. And it's a concept that we haven't really seen we saw it a little bit in Batman v Superman, but not in any of the other films. We talked a bit about it with Superman, where there is actually 3 different alter egos. There's Batman, there's the public persona of Bruce Wayne, the billionaire playboy, and then there's, Bruce Wayne, who's basically
broken.
It was sort of both, but like Batman without his mask, or Bruce Wayne without his mask. He's the guy.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne of the broken Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, that's right. And it's the same with Superman. Like there's the bumbling Clark Kent, there's Superman, and then there's, Clark Kent when he goes home to visit his mom. Right, which we talked about when we did the Superman episode. Sort of the 3 alter egos, that's done on the animated series actually very well, because they play up the billionaire playboy
Well, why don't we
aspect.
just lay it out here that the animated series version of Batman is probably the best Batman we've ever seen. In any medium.
As far like
a live action medium. I mean, not obviously in the comic. I mean, not live action, but you know what I mean, like work of movement.
Motion, moving pictures version.
Yes.
The animated series. It's certainly the most accurate of. I mean, there's so many versions of the character. It's hard to say, right? I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole again. I think we kind of explored some of that in Superman. So Bruce sees the bat signal again out through the window, excuses himself from this awkward interchange with Duma, and tells him, he can't have any money for the human trials. He's got to go. He leaves, zips to the bat cave in this weird pneumatic tube or whatever he's got, suits up again, heads out to the bat signal, and there's Dr. Meridian in less than professional dress, and she's just called him there basically to say some bullshit about something she noticed about him with his coin, and they had some banter here. So she's obviously using this as a pretext to come on to him again.
Oh yeah.
And
remember, Chase, this is my weak arm.
Remember when I said I would kill you last? I lied.
No, but yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the fact that someone has access to this aside from Gordon or the police, I mean, she's just a psychologist. It's just hokey and corny. Here, I mean, her character, I don't know if you want to get into talking about Chase Meridian now.
Yeah, well, let's talk about her now. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's not talk about her now. We'll talk about her after the scene, her first scene with Bruce Wayne.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's when we'll talk about her.
This scene here, we're on the rooftops with the bat signal. Ridiculous.
Well, the bat signal is ridiculous. I think they have some chemistry. I mean, I hate it too because it doesn't fit. I love his joke about the car. It makes me laugh every time, and it's not because of the line. It's because of the look on his fucking face. He's just like, fuck, not this shit again. I absolutely love how he plays that. It doesn't fit. It's not Batman. There's something about it that works for me. It's almost like seeing for a moment Batman's like his guard's down. He's broken for a sec. He doesn't have his. It's like the mask came off for just a second. It's like,
But you know what though? If
the car.
You know what though? If I'm in this Batman shoes and I see this hottie there, I would be completely out of character and distracted.
Yeah.
So I really don't blame him.
But that's why I think it kind of fits. Like I actually think this scene works because she is breaking. She is finding the chinks in his armor. She is breaking him down, and he's managing to resist. He's like, shit, like this isn't a game. Like this is what I do. I'm badass. I'm a superhero.
But the thing is though, so let's talk about this.
I love it. And I love the car. I know everybody hates it, but I love the line. I think that
what was
that
the line
Val
again?
because she coming on and he's like, it's the car, right? Chicks love the car. And I love how he delivers the line because he's just so unimpressed with his situation right there. I love the delivery.
I love how Schumacher and company kind of pretty much replicated the line again in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, except it's Chris O'Donnell, and he totally flubs it because he flubs the delivery in Batman and Robin. He's like, I want a car. Like, I want a car. Chicks dig the car. Like, shut up, you fucking brat.
No, I did like Clooney's response. That's the one line I like of Clooney.
What was Clooney's response?
This is why Superman works alone, as he's bobbing his head about 10 times.
Yeah. Well, did he bob his head? Because he was still in a pretty stiff costume.
Oh, no. He was bobbing.
This is why Superman works alone. Poor George, man. I feel bad for the guy. He carved a career out for himself. It wasn't his fault.
I don't. He is a bum. If there is a definition of a Hollywood bum, it is George Clooney. I don't care what he's been. He's a bum.
Is he a bum because of Batman and Robin?
No, he is a glorified bum. That guy, along with J.J. Abrams, needs to get work. All right.
Well, we can
together.
We can discuss. We can dissect that later. I like George Clooney, but anyway,
the guy needs to get work. Okay, that's it.
You could try to work him. He would just cool you to death.
Dude, that guy couldn't.
He would just give you that look, and you'd be done. You'd be down.
That guy couldn't even handle it, and that's being realistic.
He couldn't handle me. I could take him.
That's how much of a bum he is.
You don't like Ocean's 11?
I didn't like any of those movies, man. I've seen them once, and
I didn't say the other. I just said Ocean's 11. I didn't say 12 or 13. I just said Ocean's 11.
Whatever, man. Terrible all around. But let's move on. We're
Shit, man. I don't even. Oh yeah, we're on the roof. Okay.
Ocean's 11.
So
my God.
So.
My God, man. How can you be deaf with ears like that? Like, seriously.
What?
Anyways, go ahead. Move on.
Cut back to Wayne Enterprises. Nigma's pulling some late hours. He's stewing over Bruce's rejection of the project, and the supervisor he's losing his mind on him here. Sort of the comical boss, which, is fine. Back to Edward pulling the late hours at Wayne Enterprises. Stickley is not happy. He's he's terminating the project, and Edward's not having it. Clocks him over the head there, and then the guy wakes up. He's strapped to the chair. Edward's put the weird blender with wings on his head to test it out, and then we get so the guy then transported into the television there. He's having the VR experience, and he's totally digging it. It's like that. It's like the game from Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like, the guy is having an orgasm every time the dude on screen catches a fish, and for some reason Edward's also hooked up to the machine, and he's sucking all the brain power. And if you can kind of like strip away the Jim Carrey-ness of this here, you get that he's absorbing the mental power, and so this is a discovery he did not expect. So he knows that he can use this machine to suck the power, the mental power of his victims, and then he basically kicks this dude out the window, and down he goes. So, and then at this point here, he heads back to his apartment and puts together his first riddle. We also get around here is one of the many dream sequences that Bruce has through the movie. We see images of Bruce as a young boy, the two coffins in the parlor, and this red book that's obviously seems to be an important image. What did you think of the introduction of the dream sequences here?
The machine that Nigma concocted. I mean, you're not supposed to put a lot of thought into it, so fine, whatever. The scene was again way overplayed by Jim Carrey, so the scenes are kind of losing it for me. I'm not that interested because I'm not buying into what Jim is selling here. It was all ridiculous, but I mean, it's again kids superhero movies, so you're not supposed to think about the science behind it. It just does what it does because it's supposed to do what it does, just to move the movie along. So fine, I can let that go. That's just a movie trope. The dream sequence, okay, nothing to write home about. Interesting about the book, I think that's the one little nugget, like why focus on the red book, right?
Mm-hmm,
so what's the significance of the book? So that was kind of interesting. Aside from that, I mean, the images weren't well filmed. There was nothing special to see. I'm not sure if this is where we get the first image of the flying bat coming at the screen, which I did like. I think that might be later, but
I think that's later. But I agree. Yeah, that's a cool image. The bat flying like directly into the lens. That's pretty cool.
And because you don't really see it. So I just want to mention you don't really see it, so it's kind of creepy. You just kind of see an outline of it, and you always think its full form and full face is going to appear, but it never does. And I love that. I think it that's actually quite creepy.
I agree. Yeah, it's kind of like the Alien. It's scarier when you don't see the monster.
Yeah. So I love that aspect.
Going back to Jim Carrey, way overplays that scene. Speaking of cringeworthy, this is a really hard scene for me to watch because he just overdoes it way too much. It's not, I'm not watching a Batman movie anymore. I'm watching Jim Carrey do his thing, and it's.
But just like Jar Jar Binks, I mean, I'm sure the kids are loving it.
Yeah, and you're probably right. Yeah, it's played for the kids.
It's played for the kids, right? Yeah. So it's just like, okay, go. I'm here to get the kids to buy Riddler toys because you're so out there and zany.
Speaking of overacting, so we go back to Wayne Enterprises. The police are here investigating the death of what's his name? I mean, why didn't the cops arrest Edward Nygma right here for so clearly being a fucking suspect? You know what I mean? Like, he's so overacting here.
He's got the suicide note, too. Oh, here's the suicide note.
Oh, you'll find it matches his sentence structure and spelling exactly. And you know what's hilarious is we actually get a look at the suicide note later, and it just says something stupid like...
Time to go now. Bye.
Dear world, had enough. Bye. Like... Okay, come on.
But because I think the video shows he messed around with the video magically to show him do all that and jump out, they probably didn't think twice about it. So I let that go.
Yeah, I let it go as well. It's obviously ridiculous.
Yeah. But
anyway, Bruce finds the first riddle, which is the clock riddle. Okay, I don't know what.
But this is where I'm starting because I forget some of the movie. I think I kind of remembered some of the end of the movie, very some images, but I have only seen this a few times. This is where I was starting to pique my interest. Okay, this is now what I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see riddles. I want to see the detective aspect of Batman to try and solve some of this stuff. Will it turn out interesting? I actually kind of started, back was straightening. My interest was peaking. It was like, okay, now this is gonna get better. It's gotta get better.
It has to.
It has to, damn it. So I did like the introduction of the riddles. Like, finally something for the adults.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like the fact that they actually did introduce riddles, because I think if they put the Riddler in today, there wouldn't be any riddles. You
don't think so? In a movie like today?
Yeah, if they did it today, like in today's tone, it would. I don't know. I don't think there'd be. I don't think there'd be any fucking riddles.
Oh, I completely disagree.
You think you don't think so? I mean,
no, I think so. I think it would be well handled, and this is a villain I'd love to see.
I would love to see this villain handled properly.
In fact, I wouldn't even mind seeing Jim Carrey take a crack at it again. To be honest with you,
that's interesting. Tone. That's interesting. In a serious tone. No,
and you wouldn't be able to shake these images that you see here of him. But it would be interesting in that alternate universe we keep talking about. I think now with a good director and a good story, he could do the job. I think so.
Well, I mean, I'm intrigued. It never occurred to me to think of that, but with a good director, I think Jim Carrey could pull it off. I mean, the guy has demonstrated he can act. So yeah, that's interesting. That'd be. We need to open that dimensional portal one of these days, man, just to see what's going on over there. They got some good movies over in that alternate universe.
Yeah.
I want to see the alternate universe, though, where Val Kilmer and Christopher Reeve are in Batman v Superman in 1995. That's what
is it? It was Christopher Reeve and Michael Keaton. What's going on, man?
Well, no, I just think it'd be more fun to see Val Kilmer as it is, because it'd be fucking ridiculous. No, dude, Val Kilmer and Nicolas Cage in Batman v Superman.
I want the Cage included. The two C's. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Oh my God. Could you imagine? Holy shit.
I just want Cage in everything. Stars in everything.
Yeah, I want to.
Not a movie without Cage.
I want to see Nicolas Cage in the new Star Trek TV show. Are you kidding me? I want to. Yeah, and all of it.
Everything Cage. The more Cage, the better. Trust me, life would be better. We would be at peace.
Well, I'll tell you, the world would forget about its problems.
It would. Nicolas Cage can save the world. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Well, he did in that one movie that he did, which was a piece of shit. He had a worse toupee than Shatner's.
Oh, I love the Cage, man.
You don't say.
The guy's awesome.
He's something. So we get the riddle, and then for whatever reason, as we get through, he decides to consult with Dr. Meridian. Shows up at City Hall. Probably one of the very few actual location shots in any of the Batman films on a street, and then in that that old sort of marble and columns lobby there of the City Hall of Gotham. He hears sound, so he busts the door down, and she's just added out the punching bag, and their interaction is decidedly not the same as Batman's interaction with her. She's definitely a little more standoffish. She's colder, but more normal. She's a human being.
Yeah. Well, you would be standoffish to a guy who just beat down your door.
Yeah, totally. You totally buy it. Yeah.
So it's fine, and I mean, she's got the hots for Batman, so that's okay. She's got a pair, I guess.
Well, no, I mean, it's just some rich dude who kicked my door down. Like I was working out. Like, why don't you wait till your fucking appointment starts, asshole?
Yeah,
shit.
Exactly. So, I mean, I liked these scenes, and actually, I liked their interplay here.
Yeah, I do too, because he's kind of. I get the impression how Kilmer's playing it here, like he kind of wants to get the Woody Banner going again, and she's just like, like whatever, man. Like, are we gonna get on with the appointment or what? So I think that this is interesting now, because this is the first time we really see her as she normally would be when she isn't completely enamored with Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, so I liked where this is going, and this is the first step.
Yeah.
So the few aspects of the movie that I really did enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is where I was going to hold our talk about her character to this scene, because now we've seen who she is normally when she isn't throwing herself at Batman. So here is kind of my take here when I examine this. So we've examined she's a psychiatrist. She specializes in multiple personalities. We have Batman and the documented duality of Batman and Bruce Wayne. He's two people. He's struggling with his two identities. But she's totally two different people as well. She is sexbot when she's around Batman, and it's almost like she's out of control. She can't manage herself when she's in Batman's presence. And then she's her in this scene here, her normal self, her, professional psychiatrist self. She's giving a professional opinion. And I thought that was very interesting to play that duality as well. I thought she did a pretty good job. What was your take on her character now that we've seen both sides of her?
The more we get to know her, the more I like her as a character. But I still think all of the potential for these scenes are kind of ruined, because he was really, in my opinion, starting to really become infatuated with her with Sexbot. I think if he kind of like brushed her off as Batman and then came back and found out, okay, there's more to her than meets the eye, then you get maybe even both Batman and him kind of, because he kind of tests her later a little bit too.
Yeah.
So I think all of this stuff would have played a lot stronger if he wasn't already infatuated with her before, because they played all that for humor previously. Now we're getting into some more nuance, and it doesn't work as strong because they fucked up the earlier portions of the movie, of this relationship. That's my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. So you think that, like, because of how, I don't know, because it was too goofy before, this doesn't work as well for you?
Yeah. I think, you could have... I hate that rooftop sequence from before where she's in lace and all that stuff. I think if you just had maybe the first introduction where she was even just kind of slightly being obviously attracted to him, but he wanted nothing to do with it. He's just, this is the job. You're nothing to me because I'm Batman and nothing means more. Yeah. Then now you're not my type. Now I'm seeing you're more here that I like, and I can understand that he likes a person like that. Then I'm more interested in it. It's more believable. Here it's already, it's just like, okay, well, what happened to Sexbot? Where's Sexbot?
Okay.
I want Sexbot, right?
Yeah.
So, that's just my take on it.
Yeah. No, that's good point. So he invites her to, of all things, charity circus, which I guess is a thing that happens somewhere. And
I like the fact that she goes out on a date with him after immediately breaking down the door.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he is rich.
Well, yeah. So I guess not a good message for young women. But
when you're rich and you're a good-looking guy, you're getting dates.
Yes,
you're getting dates.
I'm not disputing the fact.
If I was a woman, even if I'm a strong, independent woman, and like a rich dude who's good looking asks me out on a date, I'll take a flyer on the guy. Like, why not? What do you got to lose?
Okay, okay.
She could obviously. She thinks, she's like, well, if he's a douche, I'll just punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'd take a flyer on him for no question. Like, sure. So they head to the. But I mean, mind you, he's like, let's grab a cup of coffee. If he says like, hey, let's go to the circus, I might be like, the circus? That's a little weird, but it's Gotham City, so I don't know. It's a thing. So
they're going to the circus here.
They're going to the circus here. I mean, to break the timeline, as Batfleck said, we have a problem with freaks dressed like clowns. I think they should have learned the circus is not the place to go. But head to the circus. They got a little more banter. He's already trying to set up his second date at the start of the first date, which, I got to give him a little fist bump for. He's a smart guy. And she's like, oh, you know what? I've met somebody else. And, he tries to play it cool, but whatever. We get the trapeze act with the Flying Graysons. A bit of trivia here. Traditionally, the Flying Graysons is just mom and dad and Dick. This year, they had the addition of Dick's older brother. I'm not sure. And maybe that just makes more sense with the trapeze act or whatever. So we see their act. We can see, obviously, that all of the Graysons, including Dick Grayson, very gifted acrobats and athletes. And Two-Face and his goons show up on the scene. He wants to know who Batman is. I thought this was a bit of a stretch. He's like, well, somebody here has got to know who Batman is,
no, I think
for
he says
sure.
Somebody in the circus is definitely Batman.
Yeah, that's what he says.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just, well, he's stupid anyways. He's just there to kill people, so whatever.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I would have been happier with it if he just showed up and he's like, you know what? I'm just going to kill everybody here. And I think that would have been more fun. But, as it goes, they've got that bomb, like, what is that, a depth charge from World War II? Or
yeah.
like, what is
I don't know even how he lugs that in.
Yeah, how did they get that in there? They're going to need a crane to get that thing in there. It's huge.
Yeah, I hate it all.
Yeah, this is pretty stupid.
The Graysons. Funny, every time Two-Face really appears, I am not enjoying myself at all.
Me neither, man. I totally agree, and I'm so disappointed because I really like Tommy Lee Jones. I'm not saying he's like the most fantastic actor, but I've always liked him in everything he's in.
I'm still pissed it wasn't Billy D. Williams, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, okay, so to throw in some more trivia, originally when Billy D. Williams was cast in 1989 Batman, it was with the understanding that that character would eventually become Two-Face,
yep.
And it was in his contract that was his role, and so he would be back when they did that. I think it was in early drafts of Batman Returns that he would make the transformation, but it was written out in subsequent drafts, and Warner Brothers had to pay out Billy D. Williams out of that portion of the contract in order to recast the role. And I don't know if that was whitewashing.
Oh, clearly.
I mean, I'm surprised they cast...
No, this clearly, and they said, you know what, we just want a big name.
Well, I think it was a big name.
We just want a bigger name, and that's it.
Yeah. I don't think it was because he was black, because they cast him... Well, I think
it's a mix of both, man. Come on. It's a mix of both.
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, if we go back tonight, it's 2016 now, and there's still issues of whitewashing in Hollywood, which is completely bananas that it's still out there. So you go back, to 1989, and they cast a traditionally white character, with a black actor. And even though it wasn't, it was a supporting role, even less than supporting role, right? He didn't have a lot to do in Batman, although I loved him in it, and I thought it was awesome. To do that was pretty progressive at the time. Mm-hmm. And it is a shame that they couldn't carry it through. But that being said, this is a very, very big budget movie. I think it was, there's probably a combination for sure, because there's not a lot of diversity in this film, or any.
No, there's not.
I think they... But I do
even the fucking henchmen aren't anything. But
the henchmen are all
white guys, right?
Or wearing makeup. You don't know, wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I think that it was probably like 90%. We need a bigger name. We need an actor with more gravitas who can bring some legitimacy to the role. Like Tommy Lee Jones is pretty big at this point.
Yeah,
bigger than Billy D. Billy D. Williams never was bigger than Lando Calrissian, right? And that was 15 years earlier than this.
No, I understand. It's okay. It's just all I'm saying is I'm disappointed because the funny thing is I think he would have done a better job even playing it this kind of wild and free with minimal direction.
Yeah, hard to say. Maybe he would have.
I don't get anything here with Tommy Lee Jones.
No, I don't think
he's just shaking his head, laughing, screaming. He's even going what is he doing? I don't even know what he's doing here.
I don't know what he's doing either. It is a damn shame because he has the capability to bring something to this character, and whether it wasn't in the script or it wasn't in the direction or just in the style of the film, it's hard to say. Maybe a combination of all of those things. If Tim Burton had continued on with his style, Billy D. Williams would have nailed Two-Face in Tim Burton's Batman 3, whatever it would have been.
Yep, I think so.
Absolutely correct. But again, we'll have to open that dimensional portal one day. We'll find out. They managed to, so the Graysons spring into action. They start beating up the goons. Bruce is beating up the goons. Dick manages to get the bomb out and into the harbor, but not before his entire family falls from the ceiling there. They're all killed.
No, you're missing the best part is that even though it was loud, because he used to call Two-Face's calling for Batman to reveal himself, when Kilmer stands up and says, hey, Harvey, I'm Batman. He screams
I'm Batman,
and nobody beside him heard that? I mean, give me a break.
Well,
I know it's loud, but
I've been to sporting events when everybody's screaming and yelling and you can't hear shit. So I can kind of believe it.
Everything.
I liked the character moment where he didn't even hesitate.
I just needed Costanza there. I can hear everything. You know?
Well, you know, I mean, like Commissioner Gordon was there. That guy didn't hear shit. He's like 150 years old, and I mean, what's he doing? You know, why is he even there? Why is Commissioner Gordon there?
He's there for the hot dogs.
He is there for the hot dogs. What a plug! Fuck. He's a chucker. That's what he is.
Yeah,
he's a chucker.
He's a chucker. Yes. They should have just got James Doohan to play him. I mean, geez, he just keeps getting bigger in every movie. Can't reach the controls, Captain.
Yeah. That guy inflated like a helium balloon. Holy shit.
Yes.
This is like post Star Trek too. Who knows what he had grown to at this point? Oh my god.
His own feet couldn't carry him in the end. So I love you, Scotty, but it's true.
I know this ship like the back of my hand. Poor bastard. But also hilarious.
Yes. Anyway, okay. These scenes are just kind of hum for me. I mean, I didn't mind the scenes of the Graysons falling, but it was kind of filmed so half-assed. It was kind of... I mean, I didn't mind that Dick was saved the day, but I also hated the fact that Bruce Wayne not only tried to reveal himself in front of everybody, but then he goes and starts fighting everybody.
Yeah, that was the part where
as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I guess so, but I guess at that point he's like it's imminent danger. I mean, my secret identity doesn't mean anything now, and that's why I kind of like the character moment. Like he still needs to save the day. Yeah. What's he gonna do? He's like, well, shit. Like I guess I'll let everybody die because I can't let anybody hear.
Never mind the immense tubes and Alfred's outside all the time. It just takes him 2 seconds to get changed anywhere else. But here,
but the bomb had a timer on it, dude. He didn't have. It probably takes him 8.5 minutes just to fucking put his boots on. It was a 2-minute timer.
I don't know about that. Even in the before, he changes so fast and gets there. In every Batman movie, and including this one,
that's just editing. That's just editing, man. When the timer is actually on, you can't believe that he could put on that suit in 2 minutes. I can't even put like my fucking jeans on in 2 minutes.
How much have you had to drink? Jeez.
Well, it's the jeans. They're very stiff. But anyway, I mean, okay. It's just it is a goofy scene. They need to show it so we can get the origin story for Dick Grayson.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to it. It's kind of lazy filmmaking and rush and whatever.
Yeah. They rush through it. They rush through it. There's no. It is what it is. We got, you know what I mean. Like they kind of need to keep the movie moving along. Obviously, Bruce's offer to take Dick in. They arrive at Wayne Manor. They show up. Gordon goes. You know, Dick doesn't want to stick around. So, Bruce kind of, nowadays it'd be a little creepy, but, whatever. I kind of liked this more modern take on the Robin character where he is a little bit more raw. He's a little bit more, he's a lot more broken. We've come to him right after his entire family is dead. He's older than he was as the character was traditionally. The character, would have been, 15, 16. This Dick is college age, we'll say, somewhere 22, let's say. I'm not a huge fan of Chris O'Donnell, but his opening scenes, his scenes here with Bruce, where he's broken down. I don't know. I actually thought Chris O'Donnell did a pretty good job here. He didn't overact anything.
No,
he's
I thought
sad.
he did fine.
Yeah.
I even like the laundry scene where he's showing off his skills, doing the laundry, like whipping it and folding it, and it's just like getting a mop and squeezing it, and I think I was watching him do laundry.
Yeah, he's squeezing it, he's wringing it, he's doing all, yeah.
All I know
and then he winks at you at the end, too.
Alfred was amused.
Alfred didn't know what to think. He felt things he hadn't felt in decades. For watching that scene. I like the scene there where he's in the garage, he's looking at the bikes. I thought that was fun. And I thought Val Kilmer played that nonchalance really well. Bruce Wayne's like, yeah, there's cool motorcycles, somebody wants to fix them up, he can take it. Okay, anyway, yeah, peace out. See ya, Dick. Thanks for coming by, and then walks away. I like that scene. I thought it was good.
Yeah. These first scenes of them together, I actually enjoyed. I mean, much more in comparison to Clooney and
Mm,
O'Donnell. I prefer Kilmer
yeah,
to an O'Donnell. I think they had a bit more chemistry.
yeah.
But Clooney kind of just didn't sell it because he's George Clooney, the bum. Kilmer's a bum, but he just played it straight. Clooney was doing his head bob through the whole
I
thing.
think.
So,
Well, I think what happened. I think Kilmer.
but
Kilmer was taking it. I think he was taking it like he was taking it seriously. Like he was doing the role. He was acting, and I don't think George Clooney was taking it seriously.
no, I don't think Kilmer was acting. I just think that the subject matter automatically brings a little bit more nuance to the table just in the dialogue itself. Because
Yeah,
they're in Batman and Robin, they're just at odds and poking fun at each other, right?
yeah.
Here it's about revenge. Like, let's just move on. Like, you talk about the whole relationship. Like, he's, like these scenes, he's trying to subtly invite him to stay and give him incentive to stay, which is nice. And then the scenes later, even after he finds out who Bruce is, and it's Batman, I enjoyed their interplay there too, because he's saying, I'm not going to train you, Ritzel, but revenge isn't going to help. You'll just keep sliding into darkness and such and such and such. These are good scenes because of the subject matter. And I also think that Chris O'Donnell didn't oversell it.
Yeah.
So not great acting by O'Donnell, but not terrible, especially in comparison to what will eventually come in the next movie.
Yeah, no, and then exactly. And then the next movie, I mean, shit, it's it's also a poorly Batman and Robin is also poorly written. At least in this context here, it's not the best scripts ever, but there's more room for some more contemplative moments.
Yes,
where an actor kind of step back and and display some emotion without waving his hands around or trying to be angry. But this interplay, I thought was really nice. I thought it worked really well. And you're right, they totally have more chemistry. And George and O'Donnell didn't have any chemistry either, but I don't know how they were going to find any in that clusterfuck. Anyway, so getting back to the film here, we get Two-Face in his lair. He's got his two ladies, so Sugar and Spice. Sugar played by Drew Barrymore, also looking pretty good for the girl who was in E.T., I would say.
I've never been a fan.
I've never been a fan either, but this scene here, I was a fan.
It's okay, whatever.
And his other girl, Spice, played by Debbie Mazar, who hasn't appeared a whole lot. Not a huge career for her. Fans of Entourage will recognize her as Vince's agent, or it's not agent, manager. Anyway, I kind of like this hideout. I mean, it's definitely over the top. It's definitely goofy. The Riddler Jim Carrey shows up. He has now undergone his transformation into the Riddler. Actually, I skipped ahead here. So previous in Edward Nygma's apartment here, he knows he's watched the circus carnage on TV. Obviously loved it. For some reason, thought it was great that Two-Face was this crazy dude, and he boots up his supervillain costume generator. I don't know about you. I mean, I'm sure there's supervillain costume generators out there on the internet right now. Comes up with his persona as the Riddler.
Even though he's been surrounded by Riddler clothing, figurines, and everything for the whole movie.
You know what?
His office, so whatever.
It kind of reminded me of that scene in Mystery Men with all the superheroes. He's trying to figure out names. He's like, Puzzler, Question Mark Man, all that stuff, and he settles on the Riddler.
I'm thinking more UHF, where Stanley's blindfolded, and I'm thinking of something orange. But you mentioned that the blindfold is orange, and he's just surrounded by green here, and the Riddler's right in front of him everywhere.
Yeah,
I think it's the same comparison. Just the stupidity of it.
Silly. Yeah,
he's a dumb character. It's a dumb story. It's a dumb origin. It's just dumb.
Yeah, well, we could talk about the origin here. I mean, the origin of the Riddler in the comic books. I mean, he's had a few different iterations. Nothing really would have played well for the screen, so I think this is sort of a byproduct of that. I mean, you have to tell his origin story.
You know what the funny thing is I don't think you need to. In these movies, you do, because every villain had to have one. In the 90s and early 2000s, why can't we just have a fucking Batman movie where you don't even know who the fucking guy is? Because isn't this even one of the strengths of the Joker, where you don't even really truly know the name, who he is, what caused him to turn, even though you get stories of the Joker's origins, like The Killing Joke, for example. But why don't you just do a movie with the Riddler and he just starts as the Riddler? and he's just out there, and he's you know, like, you don't need to have an origin of who this guy is.
I think that
I think it'd be refreshing, but that's just me.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I mean, when you know, with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight, and the Joker he shows up. He doesn't have an origin story, and he alludes, you know, he tries to tell 2 or 3 different stories about how he got his scars, and that does allude back to like what you said with the Killing Joke. They present possible origin stories for him, and that is part of the mystique and allure of the Joker, of that character. And I mean, I think we all, I don't know about you, man, but I mean, I totally approve of that. I don't ever want to know the Joker's origin story, because what they've done with him now works. In that film, in The Dark Knight, his origin was that he was the product of the situation that Batman created. He was the insanity that was born out of it, and that was
why can't the Riddler also be the same thing?
I think the reason why is because, 1, we already have that with the Joker, and 2, it seems his routine is oddly specific. What I think would make more sense is, going back to The Dark Knight, is Harvey Dent becomes Two-Face in that movie, but he doesn't become the villain Two-Face from the comics. He's referred to as Two-Face by Commissioner Gordon earlier as the nickname because, you know, he was kind of a turncoat, or he would rat on people or whatever, so they called him Two-Face, and his face kind of gets melted off. So the thematic elements are there to make that character Two-Face, but he wasn't Two-Face, you know what I mean? But if they did something similar with the Riddler, but he's not the Riddler like we know him. He's just Edward Nygma. And I mean, I don't honestly, I don't know how you do it in 1995. What else are you going to do? Like, that's what you're going to do, right?
Yeah. No, for this movie, it doesn't
modern
work.
Day, yeah, you'd have to do something different.
It's a challenge, but I think good writing, you can make an interesting movie with the Riddler without having to worry about exposition or a detailed origin anyways, but that's just me.
Well, gotta be good writing, you do anything, but like, good writing in Hollywood, dude, we're asking for a lot, especially nowadays, you know?
Yeah. Anyways, let's move on.
So we get to, speaking of the Riddler, so he finds the Two-Face's lair, they have some back and forth there, Riddler presents his plan, so the Riddler wants to put his box into every home in Gotham City so he can suck everybody's brain power, and he also wants to show up Bruce Wayne and outsell Wayne Enterprises, and in exchange he'll help Two-Face hunt down and embarrass and then eventually kill the Batman. What do you think of the chemistry between Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey?
Non-existent.
Yeah, totally non-existent.
They just do their own thing. And in the end, it's all just Jim Carrey.
Yeah, these two do not fit on a screen together at all.
So why don't we just quickly talk about this? I was waiting to bring it up. Maybe it's a good time now, a good segue. This is now one of the earlier movies in superhero cinema, modern superhero cinema, where we are now introduced to having 2 larger-than-life villains in the same movie. Yeah. I know in Batman Returns, you had Catwoman and the Penguin. I guess you could say that was the origin, but Catwoman was kind of gray. Yeah. And then you obviously had Christopher Walken, who's just, you know, an enigma on it by himself. But here, you had 2 competing zany, top-of-the-line supervillains, right? Definitely evil, definitely bad, working together, right? Yeah. So I'm not a fan. I think it's just, when you're trying to share the screen time, it just doesn't work, and especially when you only have one movie, and if you're trying to give them both something to do, unless, again, you have better writing, it didn't work here. And then you have the same problem in Batman and Robin. We have the same problem in some of the Spider-Man movies that came much later. You could argue something similar with The Dark Knight Rises. So what do you think? What do you think of this? This trend?
Yeah, I noticed it as well. I mean, yeah, we could go back to Batman Returns and suggest that maybe the seeds were planted there with Catwoman. And Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken, I believe was originally conceived as... I think he was conceived originally as a Batman villain. It might have been the Riddler. I can't recall. So the seeds were planted there, but yeah, honestly, I'm not sure why. Like, I'm not sure why they decided to do this. I mean, these characters have rich backgrounds.
I think honestly, you know what? I think it's probably the difficulty in writing maybe the Riddler himself, because maybe they wanted someone more, you know, guns a-blazing, just for some of the heavier action sequences. And you can't do that with the Riddler unless he's got an army ahead. Right. And that's really not the Riddler.
No, it's not.
So maybe they kind of said, okay, we want the Riddler, but he's not strong enough, and we just want a gun-toting guy just for the sake of, you know, hamming up some scenes and being more brash and having some chases and some shooting, and that's pretty much why they had these 2 there.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable explanation, because Two-Face has never really been known as a mastermind, and the Riddler is the mastermind without the army. So, you know, putting them together, I guess, gives you both of what you need. And it's, I don't know, It's too bad because, I mean, one, I don't think these two villains fit very well together in a film thematically. You know, good writing could make it work, but it doesn't quite here. And yeah, the trend has begun. Every single superhero movie here on out has had two villains, you know, really. So it's unfortunate because some of these villains are really interesting and they deserve, you know, we could explore that character a little bit more or explore the hero a little bit more, whichever one you want to pick. You could make Two-Face is great. I love Two-Face. I love Harvey Dent. We could do a whole thing with Harvey Dent. They don't do him justice until The Dark Knight, you know, and even then, well, once it becomes Two-Face, he's just second fiddle to the Joker. You know?
Well, yeah, they dropped the ball there too, even though the original's okay. But yeah, he just goes nowhere.
I mean, the Harvey Dent character, yeah, goes nowhere, exactly. And yeah, we could cite numerous examples of where this doesn't work, but you're absolutely right. This is really the start of it, and I don't know why it caught on so well. I don't have an explanation.
No, because I don't see one where it really works. I mean, you can have like multiple people as a villain, which are pretty much the same people. Like, let's just look at, even though it's not a perfect example, it's not the best movie, but Superman 2 has Zod and Ursa and Non. But it's really about Zod.
Yeah, well, and Luthor's there as well.
Yeah, so Luthor's there as well, but he's really not the bad guy.
No, but
they're not competing for the same thing, right?
But Zod's not second, like Zod, it's Zod and his gang.
Yeah,
it's not 2-3 villains, it's Zod and his gang.
Yeah, but it's clearly still just Zod.
Yes, it is.
You know what I mean?
Correct.
Even though there's other people there.
Yeah.
Here, their Two-Face and Riddler are competing for the same role.
That's right.
And that's why it doesn't work. Spider-Man 3, you had... I mean, that's another example. You had three villains in there, right?
Really Goblin, Sandman, Venom, yeah.
Well, really two. We would just say Venom and Sandman competing for the same role.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, things like that don't work,
no.
Right? So I don't know why Hollywood still thinks this is a great idea. Probably because they just, again, want to sell toys.
Well, that's part of it. I mean, I have no doubt that the toys, you know, come into play here, and that's, you know, that's really unfortunate that the best version of the movie is subjugated to the toy sales. But
well, man, like there was just an article I read today where the Rebecca Hall, who played one of the girls in Iron Man 3. I can't remember her role per se. I think she was a bad guy or helped set Tony up to the Guy Pearce character. But originally she was supposed to be the Guy Pearce character, but they changed it because they didn't want her to sell as the main villain because of toy purposes.
Right.
So they rewrote it.
Yeah.
So it still happens today. I mean, that's a recent movie.
Oh, it absolutely happens today. There's no question it still happens today. I would suggest that it probably happens more today than it did. I think they've gotten a little bit better at making it a little more seamless.
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway,
but it's still, you know, it's some bullshit for sure. Anyway, so we'll move on. So the Riddler and Two-Face, they team up for some reason. The Riddler's genius plan is to rob a bunch of fucking banks and jewelry stores to funnel capital to build his new factory. I don't know why the Riddler and Two-Face are participating directly in the heists themselves. Doesn't make any fucking sense, but, you know, whatever. I guess comic book villains, they've got to get their hands dirty.
Yeah, they're just getting money.
Yeah. In the meantime, Dick, as he explores Wayne Manor, he notices there's one locked door, gets a little too curious, and then one day he decides to break in. We get some more scenes with Chase and Bruce. She gives him that dream, that doll, to ward off bad dreams. I don't know, whatever. Some more dream sequences with Bruce. So we see some more scenes with the same imagery that expands a little bit. We get the red book, and we get the flying bat. You know, as I mean, this stuff plays okay for me because as fans of the character, like you and I, as fans, we know what's happening and what he's seeing, even though he doesn't really know what he's seeing because he had, you know what I mean? Like it's repressed memories. So he's struggling with the nature of being the Batman and what makes him Batman. I like that they're going for this exploration because they haven't really done a lot of this before. I don't know that I think Val Kilmer's trying to pull it off where the script just is kind of failing. What do you think?
Mick, I'm not saying he's doing a bad job here, but he's still so monotone through the whole thing. I really don't get a lot of layers out of his performance. Might be due to the direction, might be due to the dialogue, might be due to Kilmer himself, right? And his limitations as an actor, or what, you know, he eventually brought to the table because he became big and then had an ego or whatever. However which way you want to interpret it, whatever the truth is. I'm not getting a lot out of here, but I appreciate the attempt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you here. I really really appreciate the attempt. I mean, we could talk about this later, but there are attempts to make this movie as big as it is, as bombastic as it is, as ridiculously insane as it is. There are attempts to make it a character-focused film as opposed to a plot-focused film. We are getting scenes with Bruce struggling with the duality, with the nature of being Batman. He knows that he's sick. He knows that this is an obsession, but he can't break out of it, you know? Anyway, so just to move ahead a little bit, Dick devises a plan to acrobat his way into this mysterious locked door and then finds himself in the Batcave. So he boosts the Batmobile, drives out on the town. I kind of like some of this where he's sort of bouncing the car up and down, pulls up to the street. You know, all the hookers are like, ooh, whatever. And he's like, yeah, I'm totally Batman. He's rolling around, you know, being a kid, and then comes across the damsel in distress, as I said. You know, what's a Batman movie with a damsel in distress? Confronts the gang members, does all right for himself for a little bit, and then kind of gets swarmed. And then Batman shows up, and I mean, he's pissed because he, you know, obviously he knows who he is. He knew Bruce Wayne was there that night, and you know, blames Batman for not being able to save his parents. They get back to the Batcave though, and he's, you know, and Dick is totally into it. Like, you know, this is great. Like, he wants to be trained as his partner. What did you think of this, you know, sort of initial reveal? So Dick finds out he's the Batman. They're at the Batcave.
Well, that door really took a long time to close because I know he's an acrobat and all for him infiltrating the cave. But man, they spent probably a good 2 minutes of showing him jumping, getting down, leaping from place to place, and then finally getting the door. It might have been 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and that door should have closed in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's closed, like, especially if it's the door to the fucking Batcave.
Yeah. So
that door closes fucking quickly, man.
Yeah. I mean, like, so whatever. I mean, that's just, but yeah, I mean, like, it was kind of funny. I got a couple chuckles, especially with the car bouncing, and then he's on the town, and, you know, the fighting, he had some good moves. I mean, these are things, but I liked his reaction when he saw Batman. He was pissed and angry and crying and blaming him. And then, yeah, I like the scenes where he's saying, I want to be trained and be your partner, but I want to kill him. I get to be the one who kills. And this is where maybe some of the better scenes in the movie come out, is between him and Bruce. Bruce is saying, obviously, you know, revenge is not the right path, but he's not believing it at this point. I like these scenes. I think, you know, I was surprised at how well I like these scenes, actually.
Yeah, I thought it worked. I like that line, like you said, you know, when we catch him, I'm the one who kills him. I thought that was...
Yeah, he's expecting this is Batman's style.
Yeah.
Probably because he's probably killed all the famous guys before, right? Joker died, Penguin died. So it's like, oh, yeah, this is how you roll, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you've killed like 12 dudes at this point, man. Like, I just want to kill this one guy. What's the problem, man? Fuck.
So.
But I loved how Kilmer played this here, where... It's almost, there's sort of a parent-child relationship here, like the do as I say, not as I do. Mm-hmm. Like, he knows, like, he's trying to steer him right, you know, like he knows what the wrong path is because he took the wrong path, and now he's obsessed, and he's down this path of revenge, and it doesn't get better. Yeah. And he's, you know, but like, you can't explain that to this kid, right? He's not going to understand. So I thought they portrayed that very well. Like a quick scene. I thought the scene was tight. It was quick. I thought it worked good. So we move on to the party at I guess Enigma Tech. Again, another expensive party with, you know, all of Gotham City's rich and finest get to the party. So Dick is there, Bruce is there, Chase is there.
I want to bring up one thing.
Yeah.
Because, like, at this point, Jim Carrey's in his full Riddler, you know, shtick and do and look.
Yeah.
He goes, I notice he keeps flipping back from a buzz cut to a fancy hairdo, which would require longer locks to slick it back that way. Kind of weird. Obviously, these were filmed in different orders. He probably filmed all of these scenes in the actual filming of the movie, and then when he's in full Riddler gear, he did the close shave and the buzz and everything, the buzz top and everything like that. But they keep in the actual chronology of the movie, it's not that way. He keeps jumping back and forth between this one haircut and this other haircut. I'm saying, man, how is he growing this? And it can't be a wig, so it's ridiculous.
No, and it's not. And what's in, and I was going to bring this up after, but if you, because I read the script for the film for the first time and did some research, and the order of the scenes as written and the order of the scenes as eventually cut in some places very, very different. So there's some very interesting editing choices, and we can kind of talk about that.
No, it makes sense considering who's responsible for this film.
Yeah. Well, most of the rearrangements came in the first act because they wanted to open with some more action. And anyway, so they did a fair amount of reorganization with a lot of the scenes after everything had been filmed. And you can kind of tell because, a lot of the movie's a big giant mess. But we get to the party, Edward's trying to emulate Bruce Wayne. He's got the fake mole. It's all a bit of a ruse in order to get Bruce Wayne into the box to steal his thoughts there. Two-Face inexplicably crashes the party. Bruce sneaks out, comes back as Batman. I did like the shot where he crashes in through the skylight and then does the flip off the fountain and starts beating up the thugs. I thought that was kind of a cool shot there. I thought the action scene here was pretty neat. And then Dick runs out, gets into his trapeze tights, and we follow them down. So they kind of Two-Face lays another trap for Batman in the underground subway tunnels, which is under construction. Tries to blow him up, and then is rescued by Dick.
I love how Dick was just kind of hanging on a wire out of nowhere, and pulling him out of the sand or whatever it is. Right? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, where did he come from? What's he hanging from?
I mean, I'm just there because I'm a trapeze artist, so I've got to strike this pose. So I was shaking my head. I was saying, "Oh my god!" I did like Batman's flame retardant cape though.
Yeah, that was a cool gadget. I actually liked how they shot sort of the hero pose that he takes as he walks out of the fire in slow motion.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I like some of this stuff here. It's kind of a shame because you can see there's nuggets here where there's a cool shot, there's something they do really cool, and then it's kind of buried under all of the camp and goofiness of the rest of it. So
as I said, Superman 3.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot. I remember a lot of the camp of Superman 3. Well, okay, yeah, there was good stuff there with the duality and where he was fighting himself, and when we beat up that dude in the bar was pretty fucking awesome too. He was drinking in the bar, that was the best. But anyway. So we get back to the Batcave again. So we get another exchange between Dick and Bruce. I liked this one as well. Because Dick's okay, baby, I'm in. We just get a name and the whole thing. And I like his response there. He's where Dick's I need a name, Batboy, Nightwing, and Bruce is and this is where I think the deadpan monotone delivery that he's given the whole movie that you haven't really liked works is how about Dick Grayson, college student? Yeah. I thought that was a good line.
No, that was a good line. Yeah.
One of the things that makes me laugh is, Dick's hey, I'm a part of this really well. He's what are you going to do? How are you going to stop me? And he stands up all threatened. He's I can stop you. Because he's Batman, right? But you look at him, Christian Bale's fucking jacked. Ben Affleck is humongous, and then you look at Val Kilmer, and he stands up, he just looks like a regular dude.
Well,
he's not.
That doesn't impact me one way or another. Batman's Batman.
Batman's Batman.
You focus on the muscles a little too much there.
It's not so much that, but it does show you
But see, there's
how things have changed.
Here's the thing. I believe that Christian Bale is an intimidating man.
Yeah.
I do not believe Ben Affleck is an intimidating man in any which way. He's just pretty boy Batman, and he's not.
If you saw him in person, you might, because he's 6'4" and 250 pounds. Man, he's a beast.
So again, you're overplaying it because
no, he is. He's big. He's big.
He's not as big as you're making him out to be. But anyways, I don't want to go down that road again. I can let myself believe that he's Batman in this movie.
Oh, I can believe he's Batman as well. Just when he stands up, is I can stop you, and
I have no problem with that.
He just looks like a dude.
Okay, I had no problem with it, but that's okay.
Well, I'm not saying you have to have a problem with it. I just think it's an interesting difference between making movies then and making movies now. They're very careful about now they're putting you on a regime for 6 months. If you're not already jacked, they're getting a personal trainer, they're getting a personal chef, and you're in the gym every single day. And when you come out of the factory, you're a big guy. You're developed and everything. Whereas that was less of a concern back in the in the 90s and before. It's interesting. I don't know when it really changed.
This is an interesting segue, maybe a discussion for another time. But I mean, this is really coming off. You look at Arnie and Sly. They were built, right?
Right.
So these guys, they worked hard. They were built believable action heroes. When you think of action heroes, you think of those two guys. Then you have these initial superhero crazes with the rubber suits. I mean, you can even say Christopher Reeve, even though he's not as big as these guys of today, he was still au naturel under the spandex, right? He was still fairly built, but then you got Michael Keaton. That's a lot of some of the people joke around. I got Michael Keaton, I got Val Kilmer, I got George Clooney. But all you got was rubber suits defining them, right?
Yeah.
So people laugh at that. So now, people have to be more jacked. And you got then the X-Men, who's kind of after all of these Batman movies and Hugh Jackman being ripped. So then now you have to top that. So people just try and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the funny thing is the suits are also getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's where I laugh. You can talk about Ben Affleck being big. He was in shape, and yes, he was slightly big. But did you see those shoulders on that batsuit?
Oh yeah, totally phony.
I mean,
totally
it's bullshit, man. When I see this, I just laugh out loud. And I tell you right now, it's all in the performance. And that's why I think I like Christian Bale, and a lot of people do, because yes, he was big, but the suit didn't make him so much bigger, but the way he portrayed himself made him feel big and danger. And that's part of who Christian Bale is. Like, he's intimidating, right? And that's just like him as a person and him as an actor. So he sold it slightly, right? In some aspect, more than I'm seeing from other people.
It is definitely Hugh Jackman's fault for being a monster in X-Men. You're right, but you're right. It always comes down to the performance.
But that's why I think the interesting thing is now, because these heroes keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but the performances aren't what we want out of the characters so far. I think that you're going to see the reverse trend. I'm telling you that right now.
We're going to see the reverse trend, so we're just going to see. So what is that?
They'll be in shape, but they're not going to be massive. It's because it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it is. It is getting a little
now
ridiculous.
You're relying on the suit to sell the character, and that's not what the character is about.
I think the Ben Affleck Batman suit is probably the most egregious offender so far, because you're right. It was mostly in the shoulders. Like, the shoulders are not human shoulders, and it is a shame because he is a big dude. They don't need to do that. But you know what? I think the problem there is they were trying to make him look like Frank Miller's Batman Dark Knight Returns.
I understand,
which was a disproportionate person because of the artwork. So they went too far in that direction. And I definitely agree with you there. They need to rein it in a little bit.
A lot. They need to rein it in a lot, because then what happens here is then the actor is forced to sell himself as an intimidating character.
Yeah.
Instead of relying on a fucking suit.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. Like if you take Captain America for example, like Chris Evans.
That's a good balance.
That's a good balance, because he's a fit dude, but the costume doesn't try to overblow his physicality. It's already.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. But but then he's just a plain boring dude. Like, I don't find Captain America is just a good role model, but he's not intimidating.
No, he's not.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you want it, like, you look at other people, you want, let's focus on Batman because we're talking about Batman. You want him to be intimidating, it has to come from the performance first. And first and foremost, I don't care what anything else says. I don't need. If you can give me the Adam West suit, give me an actor who's in okay shape, and if he sells it as a performer, I'll believe it.
Yeah, I'll go with you. I'll go with you part of the way. There. Batman needs to be, because of the nature of the character, he needs to be. I need to see the physicality of the character.
See, I don't, and I think that's part of the problem. This is where we disagree. I think this is part of the problem in Hollywood today. But I don't think this is a problem in this movie. I think we've segued way too much. So how about we just go right back to? It's an interesting discussion, maybe something for another time. But we're at more than 2 hours, so we should probably go back to Batman Forever here.
Another day we'll pick up the homoerotic discussion of men's barrel chests in Hollywood. Batcave scene ends. Batman. So he has a bit of a discussion there with Alfred over Chase. So she invited him back to her place. He goes there as Batman, and she ends up effectively rejecting him because she's now fallen in love with Bruce.
Yeah, I love these scenes. Great. Especially his reaction afterwards. He was happy about that.
He was that. Well, he gets the big shit-eating grin on his face there after she gets rid of him.
Oh, I liked it. I liked it.
I liked it too.
And I was happy for him. I thought that this was great.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought it worked really well, especially considering how the scenes between Chase and Batman have gone, and then she and then it ends in this fashion. I thought it was great because she's all ready to go. She's got the sexy blanket wrapped around her, and I thought it worked. I thought it worked really well. I thought Nicole Kidman actually did a really good job this character overall.
Yeah, I mean, not great, but I mean, okay.
Considering what she had to work with, like, it's a pretty underwritten character.
It's serviceable.
Yeah, it's serviceable. Yeah. We get back to the Riddler's fucking lair on this island there with spotlights, and this is definitely over the top. And they plug in Bruce Wayne's memories. Obviously, Enigma's been obsessed with Bruce Wayne. He wants to find out. He wants to figure out a way to outclass him, outdo him, and they find out that obviously the image of the flying bat. We find out, they deduce that he's the Batman at this point.
That's fine. That's believable.
Yeah, I bought it. Yeah,
It's not a wild stretch, so good for
no,
them.
yeah, it's not a wild stretch at all. I mean, the movie's a wild stretch, but considering the context, yeah. So he's the Batman. We get back to Wayne Manor. It's Halloween. We're in the Batcave again, and Bruce is shutting everything down with Dick walking around, and Bruce is saying, Batman is done. We're not, I'm not doing this anymore. And there's some more exploration of the concept of the revenge eating your life up. So we see Bruce trying to let go of that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he's still leaving the decision up to him. It's like, I'm telling you not to do it, but I'm kind of really not going to stop you.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you this is the wrong thing. And I like that because he's trusting that he'll make the right decision.
Yeah, exactly. He's trying to be the role model. It's like, this is what I'm doing. I'm shutting down Batman. And the rest
for all the wrong reasons, but whatever.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, the wrong reasons, I think there's a few reasons. I mean, obviously, a lot of it has to do with Chase, but he's starting to because I think what I see is that he can see himself in Dick, and what Dick is doing with who's becoming consumed by revenge. I think he can kind of see himself there, and he can see that reflection back. Like, I don't want to be this anymore.
I don't think the movie portrays that, though. I mean, I think there's a line they throw out there, but clearly the way the movie's edited, it's just clearly all about Chase. Oh, yeah, it's about her. Yeah. Someone finally digs Bruce Wayne, so I'm out.
Yeah, I'm taking off. Yeah.
So I'd rather if they played it more, it was really about the relationship between him and Dick, and him wanting revenge and following Batman. And I think that would have been an interesting lines thrown in here. Well, the Joker died. Well, the Penguin died. I mean, you could use those as excuses, right? Or all these other people you have fought have died, and it's for the better. So I'm going to do the same thing, and that would have been an interesting take. And something worthy of exploring, especially in the universe that Burton created, because Batman's not supposed to kill, but people have unfortunately died, even though I don't think he's directly responsible, more indirectly.
Well, there was that dude, he stuffed dynamite down his pants once in Batman Returns. I mean, he lit a dude on fire once too, didn't he? With his jet?
I don't know. Anyways, I mean, these are things I think you could have explored in this universe that would have been worthy of something to explore. Instead, it was just like, okay, this hot lady digs Bruce Wayne. I'm out of here as Batman.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it would have been more interesting to explore the relationship between Bruce and Dick and talk about those concepts. I never thought about that before. I think that's interesting that you bring up, man. That would have been really cool to hear Dick say, like,
you've killed.
You killed the Joker. You killed the Penguin. Like, these guys are dead now, and the world a better place. Yeah.
I think that would have been this movie could have been so much stronger if they had focused on that.
Yeah,
because
I
really
agree.
That's one of the strengths of, and then it'd be interesting that it was Dick Grayson that brought Batman back from that edge, because he was always teetering on that edge of just constantly killing people, even though, as I'll still say, it's really not killing like it was portrayed in Batman versus Superman. That's a bit of a different take.
I don't know, man. I think it's similar in the sense that he didn't murder anybody, but there were casualties of combat. Like, Batman considers what he's doing as going to war. And when you're in war, you don't murder people, but, like, there are casualties in the battlefield.
I understand, but I think that
Batman and Batman Returns treated it that way. I think Batman v Superman treated it in a similar way, although with more of a slight lean towards murder.
I don't know. I disagree mainly because of the tonality of the film, the Tim Burton one versus Batman v Superman. But anyways, I think we agree that this would be something worth exploring instead of just I'm leaving because this chick likes me.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think what you said there, where would it be interesting for Dick to kind of be able to be the one to pull him back, because that's often been the role of the Robin character in the comic books. The different incarnations of Robin was to pull him out of the darkness a little bit. So that would have been neat to see in this aspect here. But Dick takes off. Chase comes over for the date. He wants to tell her about the dreams, about how he's Batman. He gets the flashbacks, and we get sort of the full memories kind of come back, and we get the explanations to what he's been seeing. The diary, the red leather book was a diary that his father kept, and the realization that he'd never write it in it again was when it hit him that his parents were dead. He fled out into the rain and fell into the Batcave. There's a line in the script. I don't know that it was in the movie, but I loved the line. As Bruce is kind of describing the nightmare or these visions or whatever you want to call it to Chase, and he says something along the lines of, "People think that I became the Batman to fight crime, when really I became the Batman to fight my fear, and in the process I became the fear." And even
interesting.
No, I mean, I don't think that exactly made it into the movie, but I think a bit of that concept made it in, and I
I
really
think it's a
love
great
that
line.
idea.
It shows the psychosis, like
Yeah.
how psychotic he is.
Yeah.
He's this damaged.
Yeah, because he really is. Yeah.
I wish movies would explore that a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in all honesty, for any superhero that's out there, this is the one where they really need to explore the psychology of it, because he is not well.
No.
You know, like Clark Kent, mentally, he's okay.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's perfectly healthy.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's perfectly healthy. There's totally rational reasons for what he's doing. It all makes sense. You know, same for Spider-Man, the same for all those other guys. But for Batman, it is not the same thing. Like, he is damaged. And this is the,
I think you could argue
Batman
that, you could argue
as,
that with other characters. I mean, Punisher.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's not just Batman, but I agree. Batman needs that kind of exploration, especially in a live-action feature, right? I think that's where you could really get the best Batman movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
They really dove into that. That'd be great. But before we can, so they kiss. Chase sort of realizes from the kiss that Bruce is the Batman. Two-Face and the Riddler bust in. Fights ensue. Bruce gets kind of zinged in the head. Chase gets stolen. Riddler leaves his final riddle on the scene there. You know, they take Chase back to the comical lair. She's got that weird, like, gold chains all chained up there. It's kind of ridiculous. Bruce wakes up. What's interesting is in the original script here, just as a segue, when Bruce wakes up, he doesn't remember that he is Batman. And Alfred has to kind of take him through, like, he's okay, like he remembers his life as Bruce Wayne, and Alfred kind of has to reintroduce him to his psychoses in order to bring the Batman out so that he can go and, you know, defeat the bad guys, which I thought was really neat, but unfortunately we didn't get...
Well, I don't think it would have fit in this movie tonally.
No, it wouldn't have fit tonally.
And there's too much time already. Like, you need to wrap the movie up.
Yeah, you need to wrap it up. So he wakes up, the Batcave's been destroyed, and this is another toy-selling opportunity where he's got this bizarre batsuit that's all tricked out with...
the nipples.
No, this one doesn't have the nipples.
No, it does. Yeah, I wrote it down.
The new one does not.
Yeah, it's got nipples.
It doesn't.
Okay, anyways, I don't want to...
The one through the whole movie that he had the nipples. This one does not have nipples.
Okay, anyways.
Great nipple debate. So he gets the new suit. Dick comes back with the new Robin suit, which does have nipples, and they go out on their final mission here. We get the final conflict, so they make it to the island. There's a little battle in the water there, which is kind of silly, sort of pointless, but, you know, an action set piece. Things get a little kind of confusing from a physical standpoint here. Robin and Batman get separated. Robin's beating up Two-Face, but still manages to get himself taken captive for showing mercy. And then they present Batman with the hero's choice here. Choose between, they present the choice between Robin and Chase, and obviously the choice between, are you Batman or are you Bruce Wayne?
So I have a question for you before you move on. When you announced you were going to do Batman Forever, I was curious as to why.
Okay.
And then I watched this movie, and I'm wondering if because when we've talked about superhero movies in the past, you've always come down to the hero's choice. It's one of your favorite aspects of any of these movies.
Yeah.
Was this type of hero's choice here one of the reasons you picked this movie?
It is not, actually, because the resolution here also is not satisfactory to me.
Yeah, I was going to say, because if that was the case, I would have been surprised.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I really don't care, but I just by chance I get to save both anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's basically by chance he gets to save both anyways, and that's not why I chose the movie. It's the same with, because almost the same hero's choice is presented in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, and he still manages to win, right? Both. Mm-hmm. So, which is a real shame, unfortunately, but, you know, whatever. They don't. It worked in The Dark Knight. He had the hero's choice and he lost. They actually did it well. Like, he didn't win the hero's choice in The Dark Knight. But that's definitely not this movie here. No, I chose this film. I actually wasn't thinking about this scene. And as I was watching it last night, I'm like, well, Harry's definitely bringing this one up because I fucking talked my balls off about the hero's choice. But the reason I did choose, well, we can talk about it after.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, so, I don't know, there's some bullshit here. He shoots the Batarang at the machine, which for some reason causes the platform he's standing on to become holographic and then disappears. I didn't really understand that. So he dives down, manages to save Chase, manages to save Robin. I didn't mind how it was filmed. I thought it was kind of cool, some of the slow motion there that was done. You know, they're back up. The only thing I liked about the resolution with Two-Face is that, you know, he kind of used his Achilles heel against him with throwing the coins. But one thing I liked from Tommy Lee Jones there, because he was just going to blow them all away, and Batman's like, well, what about your coin? And he's like, oh yeah, right. And he's like, thank you, Bruce. You've always been a good friend.
Yeah,
and
I like that line.
I like that, and that was something that had been in the script before that just didn't really make it into the final piece, was that they had been friends. So I thought that was kind of a nice touch there, and obviously he falls down. Riddler being overloaded with his I don't know, psionic energy or whatever from the city turns him into the Elephant Man.
I laughed at that though. We forgot to mention that when they first got onto the island after the boat incident, this was no boat accident. But anyways, I love how he says, "Holy metal something, Batman."
Holy rusted metal, Batman.
Yeah. So I appreciated the throwback line there.
Callback.
I actually chuckled. I said, "Okay."
I almost always fast forward through that moment when I watch it. I hate it.
It fits tonally.
It does fit tonally. You are right, but I hate it still.
Yeah, I mean, not an excuse, but it's definitely...
You know what? I don't mind that they did the callback. Like, I mean, obviously the callback is, it's funny. They just should have found something a little more clever than that. Like, holy rusted metal? Like, come on.
That's a line I would have written. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. Would have been funnier if he'd have been like, holy shit, Batman.
That would have been awesome, actually.
That would have worked.
I actually want someone to say that, like, Robin to say that, like, literally. Just imagine the laughs in the theater. That'd be great.
Dude, the fucking roof would have come off of that place if he had said, holy shit, Batman. Would have come right off of that place.
Because it was so unexpected, even though tonally it makes sense. Because I didn't expect them to use that line. So this would have been the perfect place. This movie would be different. I'd be in heaven.
He should have deadpanned it too. He should be like, holy shit, Batman. Would have been great. Anyway.
Awesome.
The things that could have been.
I need that portal, man. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, we definitely need that portal. Okay, so as we come to kind of wrap it up here, the Riddler gets locked up in Arkham Asylum. He's gone crazy, so...
He's now Batman.
He's now Batman for some reason. I got the impression from Bruce and Chase there that he was like, he gives her the dream doll back. I was like, well, he's just breaking up with her. It's like, okay, thanks for the fun. See ya. I'm gonna go back and be Batman now. And
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not enough of an incentive here because nothing that transpired in the third act would make me think he still needs to be Batman, especially with Two-Face gone and the Riddler behind bars. It's like, okay, what really changed? Because you were willing to give it up even with them loose.
Yeah, I think what changed was as he kind of speaks to the Riddler in the final scene there in the lair, is he says, don't you see, I'm both Bruce Wayne and Batman, not because I have to be, but because I choose to be. So he's becoming Batman again for a different reason, right? He's kind of gotten through the bad stuff, and now he wants to be Batman because he knows he's supposed to be, because he can do good, not because he wants to purge.
How is that different than before?
Well, because before, I think he's traumatized by the event of witnessing his parents' murder, thinking he could have done more, which wasn't really in the movie, unfortunately, but kind of bearing that trauma and translating into his responsibility, where it's the compulsion to be Batman because he has to be. And I think that I don't think that they really brought it forward, but I can see where the nuggets were, where they were trying to show that like he got over the part where he thought he had to be Batman and got to the point where he chose to be Batman because he could do good.
No,
not quite developed enough. I don't think. I think that's where they were.
I didn't buy it. It's just like, okay, we gotta sell more ties. We're gonna make another one, so I gotta be Batman again. Ciao.
Well, yeah, obviously they can't just lock it up after this one. They got to make another one, right? So they're not going to let them wrap up the story. But a bit of a callback to the scene where we have the silhouette of the bat flying towards the screen with the light behind it, and we get Batman and Robin get the silhouettes running towards the screen against the bat signal in the background, and that's it. That's Batman Forever, man.
Yeah, terrible third act. Atrocious.
I don't think the third act entirely was terrible, but the conflict at the climax was bad.
Yeah, the climax is terrible.
Climax was terrible. It was just not very well thought out logistically, and didn't have the emotional resolution that it needed. So just a couple of things I wanted to bring up, as we just sort of wrap up the film here. Like I kind of alluded to it before, but as messy as this can be, as campy as over the top as it can be, I really think that, and part of the reason I did want to talk about this film is, this past year, year. So 2016 was the most jam-packed superhero year we've had, right? We had Deadpool, we had Batman v Superman, we had Captain America Civil War, we had X-Men Apocalypse, we're going to have Doctor Strange. I mean, that's 5, I don't know if I missed any, that's 5 superhero movies this year. And I mean, we just keep getting more and more of these crazy big, superhero blockbusters where entire civilizations are exploding, basically. And I wanted to go back to before, these, superhero movies were like this. We talked about Superman already. And like I said, this is kind of the forgotten Batman movie. And as I watched it, I thought, you know what? For all of its failings, they actually are attempting to make this a character-focused film. Among all of the toy sales, among all of the craziness, among all of the Jim Carrey-ness, I think that there's actually a reasonable character study of Batman and Bruce Wayne here.
It's a feeble attempt, but an attempt. Yeah, that's my opinion. I mean, there are a couple of nuggets here. There's maybe 2 or 3 decent or slightly good scenes in this movie, but that doesn't make it okay. It's like Superman 3. There's some duality there. I like it, but it needed to be more to be a better movie. You know what I mean? We all love the duality scenes in Superman 3. That's the highlight of those movies, that movie. But you could say these couple of scenes here between him and Dick, or him and Chase, where it's not sex bot Chase, it's like psychiatrist Chase. Yeah. That's equivalent to 5 minutes of movie time.
Yeah.
So not enough. It's there as window dressing. I even find that it's more interesting in Superman 3 because it's the same. I mean, I think there's more exposition and dialogue in this movie in comparison to that, but I enjoyed seeing that more. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Better. Yeah. No, I do.
It's just not enough. I mean, I think, initially my memories had it that I always thought Batman and Robin in the long run was a better movie, even than Batman Forever. As crazy as that sounded, because they just went for it. And I can enjoy it for the stupidity. It's a good drinking movie. It's loaded with Arnold and his puns. And I can dig that with a good crowd, right? With the right crowd. Yeah. And the right drinks.
Oh man, the right drinks for sure.
Yeah, the right drink. I mean, that's a drinking movie. It's a fun movie to watch because it's so bad. It's a movie that's so bad it's good. This movie is not so bad it's good. It's bad, but it's got some good nuggets in it. So it's a different beast altogether. You know what I mean? But after watching it this time, because it's been so long, I actually think that this is actually still a better movie. My opinion is flipped. A better movie than Batman and Robin. Yeah. Even though I think that just Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones really ruined this movie for me, it's not enjoyable to watch. In comparison to, I can still enjoy bits and pieces of Batman and Robin just for the sheer lunacy of it. Again, with the right drink.
Sure. Yeah.
If you understand what I mean.
I understand what you're saying.
And in fact, based on how we rate, I don't want to know if I want to open up Pandora's box. You could even argue that Batman and Robin is a rare antiquity for all the wrong reasons. But this movie is not. Yeah. It's not special enough.
Yeah.
It's not. It tries to play it straight, but then they just don't do a good enough job with the villains, and there's not enough exploration on what we needed, Bruce Wayne and Batman and his relationships between Dick and Chase, to make it a home run. Or not even a home run, even a single. maybe half a single.
I think I gave him a single. I give him first base. Like,
okay, you give him first base.
Give him a single here. Not a standing single, but it's all right.
Okay, maybe they barely slid into first.
Yeah, I'll give them. Yeah, they slid into first barely.
So,
well, nobody slides into first, but
whatever.
Fuck baseball, man. Whatever.
These guys slid into first, so that just says it all right there, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take on it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I mean, I hear what you're saying. There's definitely there's good nuggets here that almost seem like they tried to shoehorn good moments into a shitty movie, which is too bad. I guess, again, going back to the reason why I chose this for the podcast is, when I watch the modern superhero movies, I don't see any examination of character at all. Like, they don't even try. It's all about the spectacle. It's all about the bombastic special effects, the action set pieces. They do explore themes, but the characters are just there to kind of move the plot forward.
I agree with that. I agree with that for the most part.
Yeah. And I think that's a shame, because a lot of these superheroes are really interesting characters, and that's part of why they're still popular decades later after their original creation, is because they have, they're nuanced, they're layered. There's so many different ways to explore them and to put them into different situations to see what's going on and to see how that character is going to react, and they to really dig into some of these guys. And we just get more surface with them. And I thought, for all of its faults, Batman Forever tried to. It was a lot of it was about Batman and Bruce Wayne. A lot of it's garbage, but a lot of it's about Batman and Bruce Wayne. And I think that we don't really get to see that too much anymore, which is a shame. Which again, like I say, it's kind of why I chose it. I thought it might be interesting to see how this stuff played out decades before the insanity now, and that's pretty much it. So let's maybe wrap up. Final thoughts on the movie, Harry, before we give our final recommendations.
Surprisingly, a good few nuggets in there that I didn't remember, mainly because I hadn't watched it in so long. Maybe I was too harsh on Kilmer. He did a better job than I remembered, but it's still a little too monotone, and I think he could have brought more layers to the role. I like the relationship between him and Dick and him and Chase, but not enough there to warrant me to recommend this, mainly because the rest of the movie is just a farce. It's just too goofy, too corny. The villains are terrible. It's just Flotsam and Jetsam, those two guys. It's just ridiculous. It's a terrible acting by Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. They wrecked the movie for me, along with some of Schumacher's directing and his visual style. Too much of a departure from the previous two movies, Burton's universe and the Art Deco world we talked about. It's too bad. I think if Burton was in charge a little bit more, I think he was a producer on this movie. I remember his name is on the credits. Probably a name only, but I think if he had a more active role, this could have been a different movie and better, and should have been only one villain. So I don't recommend this movie. It's not a rare antiquity as well. Yeah, bottom of the barrel for Batman, and pretty close to, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think I share some of your sentiments with especially Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey. Just really sink the movie. It's a shame because they're both probably well cast for the roles that they were in, but didn't work. Didn't come across. It was too much. I enjoyed Val Kilmer's portrayal here. I know you didn't really care for the monotone. I kind of liked that. He was more reserved. I thought that we kind of needed that to turn the volume down on the rest of the movie there. So I like that. The character moments, again, I agree with you. The character moments between him and Dick work really well. Him and Chase also work really well. Some of the jokes worked fine for me that tend not to for everybody else. But I don't know. I kind of remember fondly on it. It's got its problems for sure, but it's definitely representative of a different time. But yeah, this is a weird one. This is a weird one to watch. So recommendations, and is this a rare antiquity?
Oh, I already said, yeah, not a rare antiquity, not recommended for me.
Yeah. No, it's not a rare antiquity. They certainly don't make superhero movies like this before, and it's kind of the forgotten Batman film. But as far as our standards go, no, it's not. But if to recommend it, yeah, I give it a recommendation. I think if you haven't seen this one, this is an interesting exploration of the character and the zany style of this notwithstanding. I think there's some nuggets here that are definitely worth watching. So go check it out. But that's Batman Forever. So Harry, why don't you tell us what we are getting ourselves into next time?
Well, we're going to head back into the science fiction realm here with Robert Wise's 1971 science fiction film, The Andromeda Strain.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I thought, I've never seen it myself. I'm not sure if you have.
Yes, I have many years ago. Yeah.
So I thought I'd go down there with a Robert Wise picture. Sounded interesting, and I know we did Kingdom of the Spiders recently, kind of a disaster flick, but that's more of the cheesy B horror side of it. I think this is a little bit more of your true type of disaster film, or kind of like virus film. So I don't think we really touched on something like that, so it should be interesting.
Yeah, no, that should be good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. That's a good choice.
No, thanks. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it. I never have before, so it should be good.
Yeah. All right. Looking forward to it.
Okay, man. Well, I guess I'll see you on the flip side.
Yeah. See you on the flip side. Thanks for doing the show, and until next time.
All right. Cheers.